Welcome, everybody. It is the High Noon stream for today. It's a Tuesday. Oh, God, I don't even know what day it is. It's Wednesday, and I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. And what do we do here on the High Noon Report? Here's what you're going to get. You're going to get all the hot topics, current events, trends, headlines, buzzworthy topics, whatever it is that people are talking about, whatever it is you're hearing about out there. I'm going to bring it to you right here every Monday through Friday at noon. For a couple hours. We'll do it about, typically it runs 2 hours. I don't know. All right, come on, everybody. We've got a chat room. The chat room people, we love to have you get in. Come on, one after another. Taranda's in first. Welcome. You are. Here's the thing, folks, you might be noticing. We have switched studios again, recently. I mean, this is the second day back in the recreated original Radio Misfits Pugs and Company studio here in what we like to call the Comfort Nest. This is a guest house that is located on a fabulous 1%er property in beautiful Highland Park, Texas. The big house is across the property, and we had been using a studio over there for a while, and now we're moved back over here to the guest house where I live, work, thrive, experience life, and all of that stuff. Got the window open today. Yeah, I've never done that before. Don't know what that means. I don't know. Does it bug you guys? Is it something that I need to close the window? Is that a problem? If it's a problem, I can make that work for you. Joseph says, Pugs from 105.3. Yes, in a former life, Joe. What took you so long, buddy? I've been looking. I've been climbing up hills. I've been going, where's my boy Joe? Has anybody seen Joe? And now here he is. And I feel like this is beautiful. Hi, Leslie. Leslie's here. My man Barney is here. Barney style. We got Al. We got Leslie. We got multiple Leslies. We got the Leslie Martin. We've got the Leslie Collins. We've got who else? Come on. And you know what? Here. Just everybody grab your beanbag chair, form your soul circle of life, join hands in the chat room, and let's move forward on today's adventure without any preconceived notions. What do you say? Is that a promise you're willing to make to me? Because it's a promise I'm willing to make to you. All right, fine. What do I need to mention? Oh, God, you guys. Okay, first, before we get into the topics, and that's what this show is. This show every day is a full-throated 30,000-foot view. Where you going, dog? Where you go? The dog just walked across the room and entered into a room where the air conditioning has been turned down. So she is not going to be happy. She has no idea what this is the room with the air, stupid dog. The dog is also adjusting to the new studio arrangement. She'll be fine. She likes it here. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Okay. So last night, this has been a crazy week, hasn't it, you guys? You tune in for the hot topics of the day, the hot takes associated with those hot topics. We're going to go through the history of the day. That's what we do. We do the show in segments. We start out with the history of the day. Here are the things that happened. Here's what I think. And we don't do everything. We just do the shit that I've got hot takes on. Like, oh, really? Like, I'll give you an example. No, I don't need an example. The example's coming. Then we do some birthdays. We talk about people who were born today. And, we stomp on their graves or we celebrate their life. Well, whatever it is, it depends on the person. It's a fluid situation. Then we go into the deaths. These are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. We talk about people who died on this day. And we ask ourselves a morally troubling question. It's complicated. Do we care? I mean, certainly we care about all human life equally. But no, not really. There's a lot of assholes out there. Assholes die all the time. And so we're going to go through the list of people who died on this day, and we're going to determine whether or not we really care that they died. All right, after we do that, after I feel that we have established a very firm and solid look at what this day has been on previous editions of July the 26th, then we go into the headlines, hot topics, current events. And here's what it is. It's not political. We don't get divisive. This isn't about Biden. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about any of that kind of shit. We just run through all the topics and we talk about them like regular people over beers. That's it. None of this has to do with, it's cause, we yell. Oh, do we yell? Well, I yell. Let's be honest. You people have to sit and listen to me yell, but I yell. But this is not divisive radio. We're trying to do talk radio in a way that hasn't been done in a number of years. Just regular people, just talking about stuff. Without, all that other nonsense. Okay. That's what the show is. I have to start out because as I was about to say, if you've been with me all week, you know that this has been a roller coaster of a week for me. Started out on Monday with laryngitis. Had no voice. Did the whole show like this. It was awful. Sucked. Pushed through it. Did it. I mean, we did more than 2 hours. I was, sort of like a mental test on myself. I'm like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. My voice. It was like, here's what it was like. Have you ever been driven? Have you ever driving a car when it's like, what did they call it on Seinfeld? To the left of the slash, where you're on E and you're just trying to see how far it'll go. That was me Monday with my voice. I was just trying to see how far. At what point would it just completely go? Because that does happen. I talk a lot. I mean, I'm going to talk for the next 2 hours. It's going to be a virtual stream of consciousness circus out of my brain. That's what you're going to get. So it started out with laryngitis. That was difficult. Voice came back. Voice is feeling okay. I'm starting to get a little bit of a bottom back to my voice, which I like. That's getting better. It wasn't just like this. Now it's, I got something going. So that's good. But if you were tuned in yesterday, you learned that during the move of studios from Comfort Nest South Studios over to the original Comfort Nest Studios, where we are right now, I like screwed up my back really bad. Why? Because we had to move like a California king size mattress. And we had to move it 100 yards, like a football field. But we also had to navigate steps, and we had to, there were complications. And it was me and my 14-year-old son, who was extremely large and extremely strong. And dare I say it, he's stronger than I am. So I'm like, okay, we're moving this mattress. So here I am, Dad. I'm thinking, all right, I'll pretty much just oversee it. But, old beefy McMuscle boy, he can carry the load. Like, he's going to be able to do most of it. I'm an old man. So I'm carrying it. And I get to the point where I'm like, he wasn't pulling his weight. Yeah, the 14-year-old kid is like, I'm like, dude, is it down? Will you pick it up? He's like, oh, okay. And then he just lifts it up real easy. I said I was shocked he didn't have his phone in his hand while he was doing it. I'm like, totally not. Anyway, I wrecked my back, man. I screwed up my back really bad. And if you were listening to the show yesterday, you know that during the noon show, I pretty much just gritted it out. It was difficult. There was a lot of moving around, a lot of this. And then I was reminded of something, because I don't think this way. I don't think we think this way yet we think this way. And I have to thank my good friend Leslie Martin for bringing this up in the chat room. I'm sorry, I was distracted by Joe. Joe's got questions? Well, we can talk to Joe for a little bit. Joe's got a question. Okay. Talk about Kelly. No. What do you want me to talk about? He is referring to my former partner, Kelly Moore, whom I love. Why is Joseph being? Hey, Joe, why are you being? Yeah, no, there's 13 people in the chat room currently. Joe, why are you being a dick? Hey, chat room, you want to take care of this guy, or do we need to get rid of him? Well, Joe, why would you choose to be an asshole? What are you doing? Yeah, Joe, don't be a jerk. Joe, if you want to hang out, we'd love to have you hang out, man. We have fun here, right? But don't be a jerk. And I don't want to ban you. I mean, you seem like you're being kind of a. All right, well, all right, Joe. See, look at this. Good. See, just instead of just screaming and yelling, you just have a conversation. That was kind of pushy, man. First of all, Joe, for your own personal edification, my partner Kelly, and I love Kelly. Kelly and I are very friendly. She's down there. No, that's cool. Joe, please, Joe, everybody make Joe feel comfortable. Please. This is what happens with people. This is why we need to communicate. Joe's not a bad guy. I'd love to probably have beers with Joe. We'd have a good time. He's probably a nice guy. Of course, chat room warriors, you got to worry about people breaking bad on you at any minute. But, that's the life we live. Okay, Joe, thank you. I appreciate having you here. Folks, take care of Joe. Byron, keep an eye on him. Just that's all I'm asking. That's all I'm saying. Adam, Byron, Jeff, and you guys, just keep an eye on him. And the circus begins. Of course, that's my ringtone. And as you all know, that's a spam call. Okay, so my back was fucked up, man. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad yesterday and last night for the Radio Misfit show. The Radio Misfit show that we do at 9 o'clock every Monday through Thursday. Myself, E, and James Parker. It's more of lifestyle conversation, that sort of thing. Thank you, April. That's what I need from my ladies. I need my ladies to start, we're not enemies, man. We're not enemies. All right. So yesterday during the Radio Misfits show, Leslie in the chat room, sorry, I was talking about Leslie Martin. She mentioned, she's like, why don't you use the CBD cream for your back? See, this is what I mean. We don't think this way. At least I don't. Maybe you do. I know that CBD and all this stuff is a thing. And everybody's like, CBD, CBD. So the guys at Sacred Oil who help out with the show around here, they had given me this cream that I used on my ankle. I talked about this cream that I used on my ankle when I sprained it like 4 months ago. And I was like, yeah, that was pretty great. But I also took a pain pill. So I wasn't sure. I wasn't entirely sure. I got no pain pills. I used this last night without any pain pills. Man, I feel great. I really do. This is not, just to be clear, Sacred Oils is not sponsoring this show. This is not a paid thing. Sacred Oils is Brandon. Brandon, my buddy, my oldest friend. He's an entrepreneur. I'm just helping him. They made a donation like months ago, a nice one. But, please, that's not what this is about. This is legit, man. This stuff is legit. I am so wired with, my creaky old bones now with using like friggin' Bengay and shit like that. That's just the way I'm wired. I think that's what you use. This stuff is way better than Bengay. This particular stuff is CBD, Sacred Oils, soothing cream, full spectrum. You put it on and it kind of feels like Bengay. Like you get the slight sensation, not quite as intense as like a Bengay or a Burning Hot. But holy shit, man. Look at my back. I can't do that yesterday. I couldn't do crazy. All right, what do you say we get started? Let's get started with today's show. As I say, we started out in a couple of segments. We begin with the history of the day, then the birthdays, then the mornings, and then we go into the trends, the hot topics, the current events, and I give you hot takes like you ain't never heard before, and I am ramped up today. So let's get to it. It's the 26th day of the year. 26th day of July. Sorry. Well, I need a drink. This 2-hour stream of consciousness just off the top of my head is not going well. It's all right. We got shit to talk about. It is the 26th day of July, year of our Lord 2023. Did you know 207 days have passed in this year already? We've got 158 more until the end of the year. Now is the time in the show where we like to get into all of the history. We call it erstwhile on this day, or if you will, previously on July the 26th. On this day in 1775, the office that would later become the post office was founded by Ben Franklin. The post office, the United States Post Office. Is that something that we need anymore? Do we need post office? What need? I mean, we got UPS, we got FedEx. I mean, Amazon. Anything that we get that we order comes through a different service. Advertising, right? Isn't that what the post office is? America's largest advertising agency at this point. All I get are coupons, cliplets. On this day in 1775, post office established. On this day in 1947, during the Cold War, United States President Harry S. Truman, give him hell, Harry, signs the National Securities Act. The National Securities Act is the thing that created the CIA. Ooh, I know. At the time, it was seen as, it had to be done because, Cold War and all that. They had the NKTVB, whatever the precursor, predecessor was to the KGB, NKVD. They had the NKVD. So we had to have the CIA, and that's when we created the CIA. We also created the Department of Defense. What's it say? There's a list here. It says it created the CIA on this day in 1947. Created the United States Air Force. It created the Department of Defense. It created the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And it created the United States National Security Council. So all of those things went down on this day in 1947. On this day in 1948, Harry Truman signs Executive Order number 9981, desegregating the military of the United States. Now, what did that mean? Like what 1948. So that was desegregating. So that means there must have been segregation. Yeah, you know what? Didn't we learn about this when Tony Bennett died? Right? Remember, Tony Bennett was in the Army and he was bucked down a couple of ranks because when he was in the Army during World War II, he would dine with black soldiers, and that was wrong. Apparently segregated white soldiers couldn't dine with black soldiers. 1948, that all changed. On this day in 1951, Walt Disney's 13th animated film, Alice in Wonderland, premiered. That's a big one. That's a big summer blockbuster, I'm sure. 1971 on this day in the Apollo program, Apollo 15. Apollo, you know me, I'm an Apollo kid, right? Born on July 20th, 1969. Apollo 11, right? So my loyalties are to the big one, Apollo 11. That was the big one. That was the moon landing. But what did Apollo 15? We know what Apollo 14 did. We know what Apollo 13 did. They didn't get to go. They had that problem, and then Tom Hanks and Ed Harris fixed it. Apollo 14, I believe Apollo 14 was the golfing. I think the guys on Apollo 14 were the ones that were golfing on the moon and stuff like that. Apollo 15, dune buggies. That's right. On this day was the day we took dune buggies up to the moon. You ever seen that footage of the dudes doing like fishtails and stuff? That was on this day, 1971. On this day in 1990, Bush, H.W., Herbert Walker, Bush the first, if you will. He signed the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is interesting because, you know, I guess I'd never really thought about it, but that was in 1990. I guess there weren't handicap spots before then, or they weren't mandated, or there were just some. I mean, I'm trying to think if I remember a time. Like, I don't remember being a little kid going to the grocery store, like in the 1970s, and seeing handicap spots. But, you know, maybe I just didn't notice them. But now, you know, now it's all handicap. Anyway, that's what happened. By the way, my son showed me a video that I thought was really funny. Found some on YouTube. It was a quick clip of somebody using a handicap button. You know, big, heavy old doors. Sometimes you can't do it if you're handicapped. So sometimes you got to hit the button and the door opens by itself. So it was a video of this kid hitting a handicap button on a door that opened up to a super steep flight of steps, which just shows governmental waste at its best. That building by law had to have a handicap accessible door, even though the interior that door opened to was not handicap accessible. That's our government. That's our government in a nutshell. On this day in 2016, Hillary Clinton becomes the first female nominee for president of the United States by a major American political party. How'd that work out for you, Hill? How'd that go? All right, that's it. That's so erstwhile on this day. We didn't really, I don't feel like we found any trends. I don't feel like we found any rhythms. That's what we look for. We look for things that happen throughout history that might inform us as to what's happening today. What might we expect in the coming hours? I feel like we've gotten nothing out of that. So it's time to move on now to Wanum. They say it's their birthday. Let's do some birthdays. People born on this day. 1909, born on this day. How about Vivian Vance? You guys know who she is? Vivian Vance. Wasn't she? Well, she was Viv. Was she Viv? Wait, who was she? Was she Ethel? I know she was Viv from the Lucy show. Remember how Lucy had like 50 shows? She had I Love Lucy. And then after that, she had like 49 other shows. And they were all variations of her names. Like it was like after I Love Lucy, it was the Lucy show. And then it was Lucy. And then it was Lucy's Back. And then it was This Is Lucy. And then it was It's Lucy. It was all of these Lucy. But I think like Vivian Vance, she was like Lucy's best friend. So like pretty much whenever you saw Lucy hanging out with another chick, Vivian Vance, born on this day in 1909. Born on this day in 1921, a hero of mine, someone who I greatly admire, Gene Shepard. You guys know who Gene Shepard is? Yeah, you do. You do. You don't know you do. That's why I love this guy. Gene Shepard was a New York radio guy for years and years in the 60s and in the 70s and in the 80s. He had a great voice. But mostly he had this ability to tell a story. And the combination of his storytelling ability and that great voice, Gene Shepard. Now, when I say you know who he is, you know who he is. Because if you've ever seen the movie A Christmas Story, he's the narrator. You know, the guy who talks about, that red rocket rifle, that incredible narration in A Christmas Story with old Ralphie and his little BB gun. That's Gene Shepard. Gene Shepard was awesome. Born on this day in 1921. Born on this day in 1922. How about Blake Edwards, American director, producer, and screenwriter? He was kind of a name. Yeah, he's kind of like an adult, not necessarily adult like porn, but there was like sexist stuff in his movies. Blake Edwards was most famous for the Pink Panther movies. But then he did some other stuff. He was married to Julie Andrews, Mary Poppins and Sound of Music and all that stuff. He was married to Julie Andrews and he got her naked in a film. So if you ever wanted to see Mary Poppins' boobs, you can see Blake Edwards' SOB from about 1980, maybe. And that's not an altogether terrible thing because Julie Andrews is a very beautiful woman. I know she's dead. She's probably dead. I don't know, but she was a very beautiful woman. Born on this day in 1922, Blake Edwards. Also born on this day in 1922, Jason Robards. Great actor. Love Jason Robards. Can't really name a film he was in off the top of my head, but I know that I like Jason Robards. All the President's Men. Boom. Points for me. Thank you. Born on this day in 1928, Joe Jackson. Stepping out. No, not that Joe Jackson. Not the Joe Jackson of, is she really going out with him? Not the cool Joe Jackson. The kind of weird Joe Jackson who we look at. Michael's father. Janet's dad. You know that guy? And we're like, okay, with that guy, I don't know. He seems a little bit, Anyway, born on this day in 1928. Also born on this day in 1928. Take a drink on this one. Take a drink on this one. We'll enjoy. Ready? We're going to get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the great Stanley Kubrick's birthday. Stanley Kubrick celebrating a birthday today. He's my favorite actor. He's my favorite film director of all time. I almost just said, and it's not even close. I don't know that to be true. I don't know. I mean, I really like Tarantino and Scorsese. Yeah, there's other guys out there that I really like. But as far as he's dead, so we're not getting any more Stanley Kubrick films. But as far as when he was alive, Kubrick's making a new movie. I mean, I was very interested in everything that he did. I got into him very early. I saw very, very early in my life, not early in his life. He was an old guy, but very early in my life, I saw The Shining. I was probably too young to see The Shining. And I was like, okay, I don't know who's sick, twisted mind this. And it wasn't Stephen King because I didn't read the book. I saw the movie. So what I saw is what I was interested in. I became fascinated with Stanley Kubrick at a young age. Anyway, it is, of course, time for what we do here on this show every now and again when we see somebody that strikes my interest. We like to do an NFL-style draft. So we're going to draft the works of Stanley Kubrick. I know we've done this before. We do it every year. Number 1 in the Stanley Kubrick draft coming off the board. His best movie and my favorite movie. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Strangelove. There you go. Dr. Strangelove, number 1 off the board in the Stanley Kubrick draft. Excuse me. Number 2 off the board in the Stanley Kubrick draft. Talked about this movie the other day. Why did I talk about this movie? Was it Peter Sellers' birthday? It probably was, because I think this is just Peter Sellers' absolute. He was terrific in being there. But I think Lolita. Stanley Kubrick's Lolita is it's a masterwork in making the audience feel uncomfortable. Not so uncomfortable that they won't watch, not so uncomfortable that they'll walk out, but uncomfortable that they're feeling a bit guilty that they want to stick around and see how this plays out, because that's what Lolita was. Now, if you're familiar with the story, it's a Nabokov book about the taboo love, a teacher involved with a student who, in the context of the Nabokov book and the film Lolita, is not the innocent victim. She's the seductress. And she is tempting and using her young feminine wiles to corrupt this man who was, that's the question. That's why it makes you feel uncomfortable, because you're like, it's so good. It is so good. Shelley Winters, of course, Sue Lyon played Lolita. Never worked again. That girl never worked again. It was such a controversial film that Sue Lyon, who had this major, she was like 16 years old. She had this major role in this major film. She could have been the next Patty Duke. That's like what she was doing. She was on that way. And then boom, because she made this movie with Stanley Kubrick, not allowed to work again. Shelley Winters worked. Peter Sellers worked. All the other guys worked. James Mason worked. All the other people worked. Not Sue Lyon. Lolita, number 2 in the Stanley Kubrick draft. If you've never seen it, and by the way, don't freaking waste your time with any of the Lolita remakes. If you're going to see the Lolita movie, and you should, it's so good. If you're going to see the Lolita movie, you got to see the Kubrick version. You got to see Shelley Winters as the mom. It's so great. And you got to see Peter Sellers as Claire Quilty, who is sort of the main thread through the whole movie that figures out something weird's going on here. Anyway, Lolita, number 2 off the board in the Stanley Kubrick draft. Number 3 off the board in the Stanley Kubrick draft, the aforementioned The Shining. In my opinion, greatest horror film ever made. Why? Because Stanley Kubrick made it. End of story. Number 4 in the Stanley Kubrick draft, best war movie ever made, Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket. Of all the Vietnam War movies made, that is by far Pyle. Vincent D'Onofrio as Pyle. Matthew Modine. Come on, R. Lee Ermey. That's the movie that gave us R. Lee Ermey. Ooh, that's a heavy movie. Full Metal Jacket. And number 5, I'm going with Spartacus, because how do you leave Spartacus off the Spartacus? How do you leave Kirk Douglas? How do you leave Spartacus off the list? I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. Incredible. That concludes the 5-round Stanley Kubrick draft on this his birthday. Dr. Strangelove 1, Lolita 2, The Shining 3, Full Metal Jacket 4, Spartacus 5. But yeah, you better believe it. We're inviting just about his entire playlist to camp. Undrafted free agents in the Stanley Kubrick draft coming to camp this summer. We're going to bring in Paths of Glory. We're going to bring in Barry Lyndon. We're going to bring in Eyes Wide Shut. We're going to bring in AI, the one that had to be finished with Steven Spielberg because Kubrick had died. Remember AI? That was the one he didn't finish, and still very good. And I know, the elephant in the room, right? If you must, we will invite 2001: A Space Odyssey. We absolutely will. We will also, also, I can't forget about Clockwork Orange. Well, Clockwork Orange, that's incredible. But 2001: A Space Odyssey. I personally despise that film with every fiber of my body because it's the one thing about Stanley Kubrick that if I ever had the opportunity to meet Stanley Kubrick, I wouldn't waste that time kissing his ass. I would not waste that time. I would use it constructively, trying to figure out what the hell 2001: A Space Odyssey is about. I have seen this movie. Everybody says, oh, you like Kubrick? Is 2001 your favorite movie? I'm like, no, as a matter of fact, it's my least favorite. I don't get it. I've seen it 10 times in my life. It's long. I've honestly, a good half year of my life has been dedicated to trying to figure out what 2001: A Space Odyssey is about. I have no idea. I've read books. I've given up at this point. I'm like, My son, who's 14 years old, who I've taken it upon myself to be responsible for his cultural education, I show him movies. I have no intention of ever showing him 2001. No intention whatsoever. We've started the Kubrick experience with The Shining. I felt that was appropriate because that's how I became a Kubrick fan. Anyway, born on this day, Stanley Kubrick, what year? He was old. 1928, born on this day. Born on this day in 1931, how about the great Bob Lilly? That's right, Ring of Honor here in Dallas Cowboys. Great American football player and photographer. Did you know Bob Lilly was a photographer? I didn't know that. All right. Dude still alive? Yeah, all right. Bob Lilly's still alive. How about this one? Born on this day in 1943, Mick Jagger. Wow, Mick Jagger is 80 years old, boy. E, who does the Radio Misfits show with us, that's the second stream that we do every Monday through Thursday night at 9 p.m. He has seen Jagger like 2 or 3 times in the last year on this last tour. He loves Jagger. He loves the Stones. It's probably the only cultural thing outside of art, in his own art, because he's an artist, but it's probably the only cultural thing that I know he really is into. Like if you had to buy him a poster of somebody, buy him a Rolling Stones poster, he'll actually put that up. Like he doesn't watch TV. I don't know that he's all that interested in. He took me once. Ian and I went to a U2 concert once. I think it was at American Airlines Center or something. And he had floor seats right on the floor there. And I was very excited to be seeing U2, right? He spent the whole concert just walking around looking for people to talk to. I'm like, can we watch the show? So yeah, Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger. And he's seen him a couple of times over the past year. And he says, you would never believe that dude is almost 80. Well, he's not almost 80 anymore. He is 80. Happy birthday, Mick Jagger. Born on this day in 1943. Born on this day in 1945. Man, I love this chick. Helen Mirren, ladies and gentlemen. She's a hot old broad, man. She was a hot young broad. Like, do you know that Helen Mirren back in like the 60s and the 70s, you know, swinging London, baby, you know, that whole time, the Austin Powers era, you know, she was like one of the hots. She was like one of the super hots, one of the super young hots. That was like, you know, Tuesday night, she's out on a date with Clapton, you know, and Wednesday night, she's out on a date with Ronnie Wood. And then, like, you know, Friday, she's going out of town with George Harrison. You know, I mean, she was like, Helen Mirren was a thing. And she's looking really good. You know, how old is she? How old is Helen Mirren? 45. Okay, so she's not. All right, so she's 78 years old. Looking good, man. Born on this day in 1945. Born on this day in 1949. How about Roger Taylor? Roger Taylor, here's a hint. He's a British rock guy, and his name is Taylor. And you'd probably be thinking Duran Duran. No, you'd be wrong. He is the other Taylor. He is the first Taylor, the original Roger Taylor. He is Roger Taylor from Queen, drummer from Queen. Happy birthday to him. Born on this day in 1956, Dorothy Hamill, American figure skater. Man, there was about 2 years there, 76 through 78, where her and Bruce Jenner. They were Mr. and Mrs. America. Anywhere you went in 1977, boy, there you saw Dorothy Hamill in her red, white, and blue leotard, or Bruce Jenner and his, you know, running, waving his flag. Boy, they were everything. I wonder what Dorothy Hamill is doing now. That's cool. That's like one of them random things. That's like one of them random situations where, like, you end up having a friend who lives next door to him. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Bob just moved into a new house. Guess who his neighbor is? Who? Dorothy Hamill? And then, like, half the people go, who's that? And then, like, the old person goes, wait, Dorothy Hamill, the Olympic gold medalist? Yeah, she lives next door. Yeah, she's like, she was a teacher for 40 years. I don't know, whatever. But be interested to find out what old Dorothy Hamill's doing these days. She's an American icon. Let's see here. What else do we have? Born on this day in 1959. Boy, talk about getting a good birthday present, because this dude is trending. And we're going to talk about him when we get into the hot topics. Kevin Spacey celebrating a birthday today. Kind of feel like I wanted to do a Kevin Spacey draft, but we're going to talk about Kevin Spacey later, and we don't have time for a draft, and I just don't think that Kevin Spacey should get that much real estate on today's show. So happy birthday, Kevin Spacey. We'll get to you in a minute. Born on this day in 1959. Born on this day in 1961, Gary Sharon. I'm the one who... No, is that Gary Sharon? Wait. On the line. Gary Sharon. Extreme. What was Extreme? What was the more than words? I can't do it. The voice ain't back. The voice was never there. Like, I could never do it. I don't mean to suggest that. But what I mean is I can't even, come close. Gary Sharon, lead singer of Extreme, Van Halen, right? Didn't he take over from Van Halen for a while? Gary Sharon. Gary Sharon's got good voice. Gary Sharon, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1961. Born on this day in 1964. We get to these people from time to time, people that I like to say I have a complicated relationship with. Not relationship with, more to the point, complicated feelings about. Sandra Bullock is having a birthday today. Is she attractive? Of course she's attractive. She's a Hollywood actress. That's not the issue. Stop it. Everything shouldn't be boiled down to whether or not a woman is fuckable or not. Jesus. Yeah, she's attractive. But there's something that I don't trust about Sandra Bullock, and there's something I've never trusted about Sandra Bullock, and you know what? I was kind of proven right. Sandra Bullock has always sort of presented herself as sort of like a little tomboy version of Little Miss Goody Two Shoes. It's always been her. And then she like hooked up with that skank dude. Remember the skank dude who built cars or something? And he was covered in Jesse James. That was that guy's name. So it's like that was just another reminder to me that I'm like, yeah, there's something going on with Sandra Bullock. Anyway, happy birthday, Sandra Bullock. What are you doing with a skank dude? Born on this day in 1964. Born on this day in 1965, ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday to Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven's an a-hole. He's a total a-hole. I'll go back 25 years with what an a-hole Jeremy Piven is. Of course, Jeremy Piven played Ari from Entourage, right? His most famous role is he's a supreme a-hole. Well, guess what? Maybe he's not that good of an actor because he's a real a-hole in real life. Here's the quick story. back in the 90s, Jeremy Piven's best friend and best friend of 50 years or whatever is John Cusack. They grew up together. They were in acting classes as kids together. They came up together. I'm certain that John Cusack played a role in getting Jeremy Piven, roles early on, all that stuff. Best buddies for life. And John Cusack was sort of, for a period of time in Chicago anyway, the king of the city, because it was his city. It was where he was from, and he was a big star back in the 90s and all that. So I remember one radio show that I was producing, we had John Cusack on, and John Cusack showed up for the interview, and he showed up with Jeremy Piven, who I had known from some crazy college movie that he had done. It was a stupid movie that nobody had seen. PCU. I think it was called PCU. And John Cusack was the guest, and we had to leave Jeremy Piven in the green room. And so John Cusack's getting interviewed. And then we thought that a fun bit would be is because I had mentioned to my host that I really like the movie that the guy he's with is in. And so we started to play this bit where I was obsessed with Jeremy Piven. And so I came in and started interviewing with John Cusack. The host is doing the interview, but I'm standing there. And it was weird. Sometimes I just walk into the studio and I stand next to a microphone, and my host stops and says, hey, Pugs, what are you doing? You got a question? And I interrupted the interview just to ask John Cusack, is that Jeremy Piven in the green room? And John goes, yeah, it is. And John was really nice at first. And I'm like, what's he like? You're friends with Jeremy Piven? Like, I just totally overtook the interview with John Cusack to be about Jeremy Piven. And Jeremy Piven threw like a hissy fit about it. Jeremy Piven, off the air, Jeremy Piven acted like, I am not doing press. Okay. I am not. The truth of it is that I felt bad that here you had two friends. One was a big star. The big star was John Cusack. We were having him on the show. We were giving him all kinds of attention. I was legitimately at that point a fan of Jeremy Piven. I thought he was funny. So I wasn't trying to make fun of Jeremy Piven. I was trying to include him. I was trying to find a way to promote him as well. And what did that son of a bitch do? Instead of recognizing that he was D-list compared to his buddy John Cusack's A-list, and he had absolutely no right even being in that orbit, instead of recognizing that here was me, a kid, a young producer, trying to help him out, get him on the show, let's go, let's promote it. He treated me like he was too big a star to be bothered with these kinds of silliness. Truth of the matter is, now that I've gone through years of therapy, I understand exactly what he was going through. He was humiliated. He knew in that moment that he was nothing compared to his big star, and he saw what I was doing as charity. And so his ego wouldn't allow him to accept the charity, so he reacted in a way that is very natural to emotional babies, and that is to get angry and lash out. When in reality, what he should have done was, oh man, if he really didn't want to come on, he should have been like, oh man, look, that's very funny, but I appreciate it. But no, that's what a well-adjusted human would have done. Not Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven's an asshole. So unhappy birthday to you, Jeremy Piven. Born on this day in 1973, somebody who I don't ever want to meet because I've got such high affection for her. I don't want her to turn out to be a complete C. And that is happy birthday, Kate Beckinsale. Kate Beckinsale. I hate when people say it wrong. It's Kate Beckinsdale. No, it's not. Show the lady the respect she deserves. It is Kate Beckinsale. Sale. Okay. Born on this day in 1973. Born on this day, finally in 1993. I had to throw something in there for the millennials because honestly, when we're looking at this day in history, you millennials have accomplished nothing. Delonte West is who you're going to float out. That's like your biggest name. Taylor Momsen, who apparently was Cindy Lou Who in the Grinch movie. Taylor Momsen celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1993. All right, very good. That concludes our birthday segment. So you know what that means. It's time to get into these are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Do we care? These are the people who've passed this day. Look at their entire lives and decide whether or not we give a hot crap, right? Here we go. Dead on this day in 1863, Sam Houston. We care. Sam Houston. 7th governor of Texas. City of Houston is named after him. Yeah, we care. Sam Houston seemed cool. Do you know he was the governor of Tennessee first? You know, he was like a Tennessee guy. And he's like, hey, I see an opportunity. Sam Houston, one of the most revered, beloved, and respected founding fathers of the great state of Texas, was a carpetbagging Easterner. That's right. That's what he was. Carpetbagging Easterner. That's what Sam Houston was. And we love him for it. We overlooked that. I could very well be described in much that same way. And I would hope that you would overlook that. Thank you. Born on this day in 1925, dead on this day in 1925, William Jennings Bryan, American lawyer and politician, 41st United States Secretary of State. He's one of these dudes that, I hear about in history, like, William Jennings Bryan. I don't know anything about him. Do we care? Wasn't he a blowhard? I don't care. Dead on this day in 1952, Eva Perón. Eva Perón was the charismatic wife of Argentinian dictator Juan Perón. Of course, the Eva Perón, the inspiration for Evita, Evita. If you ever seen that play, Evita, yeah, we don't care. Nobody saw it. Madonna movie, no thank you. I stopped seeing Madonna movies after Desperately Seeking Susan. How about born on this day in 1984, Ed Gein? Ed Gein, do we care? Yeah, we ain't proud of it, but we care. Ed Gein was a serial killer. Ed Gein was a pretty unique serial killer. And I have to say, the great state of Wisconsin has done some real interesting work in the field of serial killing. They have, now they don't have the numbers, they're not in New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago. They're not like that. They don't have the decades and decades of just proficient and endless serial killing that some other places in America have. But Wisconsin, the work that they have done, it's undeniable that Dahmer really pushed the envelope. Dahmer with his eating of his victims. Say what you will. It wasn't just, shooting people in cars. It was something completely different. So you got to give credit where credit is due there for the state of Wisconsin. Ed Gein, who died on this day in 1984. Ed Gein was the dude who made furniture out of his parents. He made lampshades out of his mom's skin. Y'all be sleeping on Wisconsin. Beer, cheese, snowmobiling, summer lake water fun, and serial killers, and Summerfest. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Wisconsin, man. Wisconsin is awesome. It's like Wisconsin is an entire state that would be like if, in Robin Hood, like if Sherwood Forest had an edge. That's Wisconsin. All right, let's move on. So we care about Ed Gein. Dead on this day in 1992, Mary Wells, American singer-songwriter, one of the cornerstone voices of Motown. Mary Wells. I know she's important. I want to say we care, but I don't really know. I couldn't name a Mary Wells. Can you? She do Locomotion? No, that's Lil Eva. She do Albie? No, that's the Supremes. I don't know what songs Mary Wells sang. So, moving on. She died anyway on this day in 1992. Dead on this day in 2017. Here's one we can all bow our head and say, yeah, cool lady. June Foray, dead on this day in 2017. Do we care? Yeah, we care. You know why we care? Here's why we care. We care because she was Rocky. Rocky and Bullwinkle. Hey, Rocky. Yeah, Bullwinkle. That was her. That was terrible. That was, yeah, Bullwinkle. She was also Natasha. The first we get Moose and Squirrel, Natasha and Boris from the Bullwinkle. She also did a whole bunch of other things. Like, what else was she? She was other, famous things. June Foray, dead on this day in 2017. Do we care? Yeah, we do. Of course we do. Now, we're going to end things here with a fascinating one. This is, do I remember this? I don't know. Because I do remember that there was kind of a, Jesus, can I just tell you, this damn CBD cream that I used for my back from Sacred Oils, 137.40. Look at my back. This is crazy. Now, it's going to hurt in 3 hours, and I'm going to have to put some more cream on. But holy crap. I'm not disabled at all. Look, I can sit, I can do this. Man, anyway. The last person to die that we'll be talking about here. She died in 2020. You may not know the name, and so if you don't know the name, just take a moment and just marvel in the glory of the name. It's like one of the great. You cannot give a person this name and have them not be, well, in the case, this is a female. In the case, they can't not be smoking hot. Right? This is elegance. This is sophistication. This is gorgeous. On this day in 2020, at 104 years old, Golden Age Hollywood actress and Academy Award winner Olivia de Havilland died. Olivia de Havilland, do we care? Yeah, we care. We care because she's fascinating. Because one, she lived to be 104. And she started talking shit on everybody like 25 years ago, which was great because she saw it all. She knew who, who was sleeping with who and she just, at like 80, she started going on talk shows in the 70s and just spilling stuff. She's great. Olivia de Havilland is great. Her sister, this is another interesting thing. Olivia de Havilland's sister is also an Academy Award winning actress. Her sister is Joan Fontaine, which is another cool name, although Joan is a bit pedestrian, but Fontaine, that sounds cool. Olivia de Havilland lived to be 104 years old, man. She's known and thought to be the last. She started her career with Errol Flynn. Like that's like in the 1930s was her first movie. She became a movie star with Errol Flynn in silent films. She worked all the way into the 1970s. Incredible. Olivia de Havilland, dead on this day in 2020. All right, folks, that does it. That's all of the stuff that we need. That's the prerequisite for today. Are you ready to get into all the things that we need to talk about? I hope you are. Help us out with a tip if you can. The show runs on your gratuities. We do the show 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We leave the Venmo and the Cash App up if you want to drop a little something. Treat me like I'm your bartender, your pizza delivery boy, whatever it is. If you're enjoying the show, please drop a little something in there. That's how we continue to do things. This plea will get more and more desperate as we get closer to the end of the month. And on that, let's move into today's top stories, okay? Everything that's happening in the world today. Okay. All right. Do we have any kind of final? Okay. All right. So Hunter Biden, let's talk about the president's son. He is in a Delaware courtroom today facing charges on tax evasion and a gun charge. Now, I've been watching this all morning. So when we woke up this morning, there was a plea deal. And it was all supposed to be very perfunctory and you just go through the motions and it would be over and no big deal. Then around 10:30 this morning, there was news that the plea deal was off the table. There was not going to be a plea deal. What is the plea deal? The plea deal is that he's going to plead guilty to 2 federal misdemeanor tax charges, not paying tax. It's one of them things. He did not pay his taxes. He just paid his taxes late. And by, usually in this case, by paying late, it means after they send you a note going, you never paid your taxes, we're putting you in jail, and then you pay, right? And then it's like, well, but I paid, it was just late. So misdemeanors, but still, all right, they're good, especially if you're being political. It looks, whatever. It looks good. You can get them slap on the wrist. They lost, we won. That plea deal got put on hold. Then at about 11:15, he's going to plead guilty to those 2 tax charges, and they were going to throw the gun charge away. The gun charge is an interesting gun charge. It is a real law, and he did absolutely 100% break the law. However, it's a law that's not really enforced all that much unless there's a situation that arises where there's a murder or a crime perpetrated with the gun. But here's what he did. He bought a gun while he was under a doctor's care for addiction issues, which means if you're under the care of a doctor for addiction issues, you cannot legally buy a gun. So when he went and bought that gun, he left that little piece of information out. So that is a crime. Now, when I heard about them throwing away the gun charge, you know me. I mean, I'm a gun guy. Why did they throw away the gun charge? That's the one they shouldn't have thrown away. Look, the misdemeanor tax things, you figure that out. He paid. It's not like he wasn't hiding his taxes. He wasn't cheating and got caught. He just didn't pay. They said you didn't pay, and then he paid late. So he's like, he's a tax dirtbag, but he's not necessarily like, that shouldn't put anybody in jail ever. The gun thing should. The gun thing is apparently the holdup here that I'm seeing. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the TV here and I'm trying to read the scroll. The throwing out of the gun charge, which is the serious charge, the throwing out of the gun charge seems to be the holdup in why this plea ending, and it's now, and the Hunter Biden hearing ends with plea deal on hold. Ooh, boy. Developing ... Okay, so we'll see where this goes. Also trending today, did you see this story? Now, this was an interesting story that happened yesterday evening. And I know about it because I have all of these alarms, these like nerd news alarms and stuff like that sort of tell us when big news are happening. So my phone will start going. Broop, broop, broop. around about 5:30 or something last night, I started getting all these alarms, and I saw that they were here. They were Dallas. They were in this area, and there was a shooting occurring. What certainly appeared to my eyes to be the early stages of something that I've seen far too often lately, which is the beginnings of another one of these mass shooting things. Well, this was happening down in Cedar Hill. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dallas area. Cedar Hill, you know where Cedar Hill is, southwest of Dallas. How would you say south? Anyway, and then it kind of ended, and then there wasn't. It never turned into a thing, right? Like I'm listening to it develop, and I'm like, should I go live? This is local. This seems to be like, it feels like it's one of these mass shootings. Should we go live? You know, I was about to go live because we do that with breaking news. We'll jump on live and do a live stream that has to do with whatever the breaking news is. And I was almost going to go live last night. And then it just sort of fell off the table. And I was like, well, what happened here? Well, now we know what happened. So here's the story as it played out last night right here in Cedar Hill. A gunman is in custody after shots were fired inside a medical building in Texas, leaving a physician and a patient injured on Tuesday afternoon. The Cedar Hill Police Department said officers were dispatched for calls of an active shooter in the Methodist Family Health Center. When they arrived, they found one victim with a gunshot wound on the ground. Authorities set out in front of the clinic. Authorities said they observed a black male with a long gun fleeing the scene. Now, those were the police radio calls that I heard. Couple of interesting things here. Long gun, medical center, people lying dead out front, right? Okay, so you can now understand when this is the only information that I'm hearing as it's happening live, I can think, oh boy, here we go again. But it was a black guy. That's the one thing I thought. They described it as a black guy. I'm like, well, it is Cedar Hill. But it just seemed to me, it's not a black guy thing. These kinds of long guns showing up at a hospital. Although I guess, maybe I need to get with it, man. It's 2023. Maybe it is turning. Maybe the mass shooting knows no color barrier. Maybe the mass shooting bit. And we had a Hispanic guy do it up at Allen. Another Hispanic guy do it down there in Uvalde. Certainly have our fair share of Muslim dudes doing it. Islamist dudes doing it. But typically when I think of a dude walking into a Target shooting, I think of a white guy. I think of a white kid from the suburbs or something like that. Mad girl broke up with him. He's not on his meds. He never got the proper therapy. He's a fucked up kid to begin with. Whatever. That's always what I imagine. So you can understand why I was like, okay, so this is interesting. This is a black guy with a long gun shooting people at a hospital. Maybe I should go live. Moments later, authorities said, but he ran. When the police showed up, before he could I don't know. That's speculation. Look at me, slap journalistic integrity. I was just getting ready to speculate there. He shot a couple of people. Police arrived. The man fled the scene in a car. He jumped in his car and started driving away. He was speeding down the roads of Cedar Hill, and he caused a car accident, at which point police caught up to him and took him into custody. A gunman is in custody after shots were fired inside a medical building in Texas, leaving a physician and a patient injured on Tuesday afternoon. Authorities said they observed the black male with a long gun fleeing the scene in a black Chrysler vehicle. Moments later, the suspect's vehicle was involved in a crash. In a press conference, Cedar Hill Police Chief Eli Reyes said there were multiple officers on the scene who observed the crash. They observed the suspect with the long gun, and 5 officers discharged their firearms at the subject. So they shoot out. They shot at him. Chief Reyes said that once shot, the suspect was removed from the vehicle and officers began life-saving measures until medics arrived. Suspect was transported to Methodist Dallas Medical Center where he was in stable but critical condition. The physician who was injured in the shooting was taken to an area hospital. How about the one he was at? Don't you think you get shot in a hospital? That's the one you got to write area hospital. Okay, I understand. It's for brevity. The physical. Oh, this is the lack of editing that they have. This is from U.S. News and World Report. It says the physical who was injured. They mean to say the physician, but they don't hire people for $40,000 a year to be editors anymore, because you gotta, again, the guy at the top's got to have 2 yachts. So you're going to, every once in a while, you're going to read the physical who was injured in the shooting instead of the physician who was injured in the shooting. That's just how life is. We've got to deal with it. The physician who was injured in the shooting was taken to an area hospital and said to be in stable condition. A driver involved in the crash that followed the shooting was also taken to an area hospital with minor injuries. We hear absolutely nothing about this. But imagine if, long gone hospital, he's shooting at people. I mean, what could this have been? What happened? What transpired? Did he have second thoughts? Was he thinking of going to a second location? Did he have a hit list? Were these people targeted on purpose? You know what I mean? What's going on here? We could have very well had another one of these situations. Knock on wood, we didn't. Kevin Spacey is trending. Let's get into the Spacey thing. It's Spacey's birthday. Today Spacey's birthday. He's gonna get away with it. Yeah, Kevin Spacey. Old Teflon Spacey. We've been covering the Kevin Spacey trial over there in England. This is the big one. This is the last one. Kevin Spacey, of course, had his career completely upended by he's a perv. He's he likes it as sex. He likes it a gay sex. That's what he's into. He's not afraid to ask for it. And so because of this, he has been brought up on charges in a number of jurisdictions: Los Angeles, Massachusetts, state of New York, and now finally London. The Los Angeles charges were dropped. The Massachusetts charges, the complainant backed out because it turns out they weren't exactly telling the truth. The New York City one, that was with actor Anthony Rapp, that went to trial. Turned out Anthony Rapp didn't go to a party at Kevin Spacey's apartment because he described an apartment that was never Kevin Spacey's apartment. So he was, he was let go on that one. So the final one. Now remember, man, Spacey lost House of Cards. Spacey, this has been going on for Spacey for 6 years. I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars this dude has probably lost. I don't know, maybe he can get it back now. I don't know. So he wins in New York, and then he comes to London, and we got these charges that go back 20-something years. He was the theater director at a very fancy theater there in London. It's basically like an honorary position where a big actor, it's almost like being in residence somewhere where like, we are going to make you the director of the Old Vic Theater. And it doesn't mean anything. He doesn't have to do any work. Although maybe he did. At any rate, he used it seems, to pick up dudes and meet guys and all that stuff. And over the course of the last 20 years, 4 of these people have come forward. They filed charges against Kevin Spacey in British courts. And so this is what he was dealing with for the last couple of weeks. Again, remember, Los Angeles thrown out, Massachusetts, they backed out, and New York City, he was proven innocent of the charges. So now we've got London. We've got these 4 people. Kevin Spacey has been set free on all charges. Not guilty. Kevin Spacey is a free man. Not that he could have been trouble. Although was this civil? I don't know what this was. No, this was prison. Yeah. England was prison. Okay. So he beat them all. In the eyes of history, Kevin Spacey did not do any of these things. In the eyes of history, we will look at what happened to Kevin Spacey and ask the question. When I say history, I mean 150 years from now. We'll look back and we'll ask the question, man, did he get railroaded? Did his whole career get upended? Now, I know that there are people today who think, no, we're putting an end to this kind of bullying and blah, blah, blah. And I agree with that. I absolutely agree with the whole look. I get a little bit, I'll start to vomit a little bit when people start talking about the Me Too movement, because it's been corrupted just like everything humans get our grubby little paws on. We take something that is initially a good idea and something that is, probably beneficial to us as a whole. And then we figure out a way to, like, I don't know, self-aggrandize ourselves through it or whatever. I don't know, looking at you, Alyssa Milano, or, somehow make money out of it. Looking at you, all these people who sued folks on bullshit charges. For every Weinstein that we get, because, the Weinstein got a lot of attention, there's going to be 100 people who are just like caught up in that wake, chum, if you will. Your odd Louis C.K. who whipped his dick out in front of a bunch of comedians, right? Apparently he can never work again. He didn't pin anybody down. He didn't rape anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He just pulled his pants down. Do you know how many times my partner Kelly has seen Danny Bonaducci's penis in the 1990s? He used to whip it out all the time. That was just a thing that guys did. But I felt threatened by it. Well, don't feel threatened by it. Make fun of it. That's what you do. A guy whips his dick out. A girl in the 90s points at it and goes, "Oh my God, what's wrong with it?" Right? That's how you handled it. You didn't go, oh, everyone must change. No, the guy's an idiot because he did that. And, anyway, Kevin Spacey today sobbed with relief as he was cleared of sexually assaulting 4 men. The Oscar-winning star was branded a sexual bully for allegedly attacking the men in charges dating back 22 years. Here's something that I want to point out right here. Okay, this is a serious conversation let's have about the whole Me Too thing, because I do believe that predatory men, especially when it concerns predatory men on women, that is the concern. Can we dial in on that? Can we stop pretending like, but it happens to guys too? No, it doesn't. If it happens to you, you're a pussy. If you are a guy who has to have sex with some old lady because she's demanding it, or you get fired and you don't do it, you either just get fired, you do it. Guys will just do it. What? Yeah, the old lady's sweet on me, so I'm leading around. This is not, but I understand. See, now you guys are going, well, it's different. Of course it's different. That's because the power dynamic is always different. And we're not talking about the power dynamic in whatever structure you're existing in, vis-a-vis the workplace, where the woman is the boss and she has power. No, there is still a sort of psychic power that men have over women, that men are just more confident, that men are just... God damn it. Nobody is more pro-woman than I am. I am simply saying that all right, let me get to the point here. The point is this. Is it the same when it's 2 gay guys? Like, I get when a male let's say Kevin Spacey's straight, right? And let's say Kevin Spacey in 1980 during the filming of not 1980. Let's say Kevin Spacey in the year 2000 during the filming of American Beauty decides to put some pressure on. Remember, we're pretending Spacey's straight. American Beauty 1980, Kevin Spacey, he's already a beloved actor. 2000, why do I keep saying 1980? American Beauty, what if Kevin Spacey had sexually harassed or hit on Mina Suvari? Mina Suvari played the object of his sexual fantasy in the film American Beauty. What if he had done that? That would have been a problem, you see, because Mina Suvari was a young actress in Hollywood and Kevin Spacey was Kevin freaking Spacey. And that would be a power dynamic. He would be using his position to intimidate her into doing something that she otherwise might not. And that's a problem. And that kind of shit needs to be stopped. But is that the same thing when it's 2 dudes? When it's 2 guys? Are we just solely talking about blow me or you're fired? Because that sounds like a problem no matter what the situation is. But I just don't feel that an actor, a 25-year-old actor driving in a car with Kevin Spacey and Kevin Spacey grabs his dick. I don't buy that 25-year-old, we're talking about Kevin Spacey. I don't buy that 25-year-old actor who's probably buff and ripped. I don't buy him being in fear for his life. That's bullshit. If he had truly been scarred emotionally by the experience, he would have brought it up at the time and it would have been a big deal. He wouldn't have waited 20 years for the Me Too movement to pick up steam and then think, you know what? I got a story that's probably worth a little money, because that's exactly what happened in this case. Is Kevin Spacey a weirdo? Yeah. Is he a perv? Uh-huh. Is he probably a sexual bully? Yeah, sure does. Sure appears to be. But this is nonsense. Kevin Spacey's a dick. Everybody has said Kevin Spacey is a dick. You don't even speak to his family. His dad was a Nazi. Not a joke. Not a joke. His dad was a legitimate member of the American Nazi Party. That's the house Kevin Spacey was raised in. So there's fucking crackadoo crazy running through his blood. And he's supposed to be an incredibly unlikable jerk of a man. But did he rape people? Does he deserve being in jail? Did he deserve to have his entire career upended? I don't know. I don't think so. And I'll tell you, if Kevin Spacey makes a new movie, I'll see it. Because here's the thing that I always say, separate the art from the artist. Kevin Spacey is an awesome actor. He is an awesome actor. If we go through life denying ourselves the magical performances of people who are less than desirable in their real life, we're going to have no joy at all. Just stop listening to the radio. Just stop watching Have you ever hung out with actors? They're some of the worst people on the planet. They're vain, they're self-centered, they're narcissistic, they don't live in the real world. And I'm not talking about hanging out with, I'm talking about going to dinner with an actress or going out drinking with actors or whatever it is. They are, and not even A-list. We're talking any bit of celebrity corrupts people, turns them into awful, awful things. So just look, separate the art from the artist. Otherwise, you'll never be able to enjoy anything. We see, never mind, don't want to go into it. Anyway, Kevin Spacey, he's free and clear, and he's walking the streets. So dudes, beware. There's a sexual, is he gonna have a career? Is Spacey gonna have a career? Can he get it back? Because, I mean, you know what I could see? Do you know what I could see? I can see old man Kevin Spacey having a career. Like right now, he's kind of in this void. I think maybe he's got to sit for 10 years. How old is Spacey? How old is Kevin Spacey? I could see Kevin Spacey, like, you know, suddenly having a career resurgence, being rediscovered 10 years later, and the narrative being his career was horribly upended 20 years ago when he was accused of these crimes. Right? I see that being the narrative, and then everybody going, "Welcome back, Kevin Spacey." Like there being a moment at the Academy Awards, like in 15 years when he wins an award for, you know, playing, I don't know, some old man. He'll win an award and he'll get up and they'll stand for him. Because this is what people remember, the moment now. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll happen for him. Or maybe maybe he'll go the route of Skeet Ulrich. Maybe we'll never hear of him again. Giuliani is trending. Rudy Giuliani is trending because he is admitted finally in court documents. You crazy people out there. You people, some of you people, you like, how is it that you people didn't know he was full of shit? How is it that some of you people were just like, nah, but Rudy Giuliani's got credibility? Since fucking when does this guy have credibility? You're nuts. So Rudy Giuliani concedes in court filings that he made false statements about the Georgia election workers. Apparently, look, I don't get involved in all the politics of this bullshit, but apparently he like railroaded some old black lady. Like there was some old black lady who was just a volunteer, just doing her civic duty, you know, working at the polls or whatever. Apparently he railroaded her on like Fox News or Newsmax or some nonsense, called her out by name, said she was doing all of this stuff, had no proof of it. This lady had people on her lawn. This is like a little old black lady. People on her lawn. She was turned into like a monster in certain segments of America. We must kill her, whatever. She had a rough time. I don't know. Anyway, because it's not looking like he can quite defend his actions, Giuliani is now in a court case in Georgia surrounding this whole thing with these people. He's admitted that, he made that all up and that he's sorry. He's sorry. In a court filing, Rudy Giuliani admitted that he made false statements about Georgia election workers and no longer contests the outcome of the Georgia election. So Giuliani is now saying officially in court, because he knows he's about to get he's going to get crushed. He's going to lose this case and he's going to lose a whole lot. So now he's sort of panicking, right? It also comes as Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis is reportedly close to filing racketeering charges against the former president, blah, blah, blah. Giuliani appeared to state that his previous comments about Ruby Freeman, that sounds like an old black lady. I bet that's the old black lady. Giuliani appeared to state that his previous comments about Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who were at the center of a baseless conspiracy of stolen votes in an Atlanta voting center, were false. That's according to him. Let's see here. And then we've got do we need to read the actual legal document? Okay, why not? Because we want to be proper about this and make sure that we get everything right. All right, so here's what it says. What exactly does he concede to? Well, I mean, he conceded that he made it all up. I mean, anybody watching it was like, oh, Jesus. Of course he's making this shit up. This is just an argument. Whereas defendant Giuliani believes that he has legal defenses in the complaint. And whereas, okay, so it's all this whereas. It is hereby stipulated, blah, blah, blah. Defendant Giuliani concedes that defendant Giuliani made the, I can't even read this. It's too small. Okay, hold on. Let me go back. It's bigger here. Let's see. Defendant Giuliani concedes solely for the purposes of this litigation, this court, and this appeal that defendant Giuliani made the statements of and concerning plaintiffs, which include all of the statements detailed. Oh, fuck. This litigation only. I hate legal speak. He says he made it up. That's all. He says, yeah, he made it up. Now, you remember I was on TV and I was saying, Georgia, and we got to get these people. I made it up. There was no truth to it. I said I had truth. I got truth. I got all these guys. I got proof in the car. Okay, bring the proof out. I can't. I locked my keys in the car. You know, stop it, you guys. You guys are all so silly. All right, so that's why Giuliani's trending. Trevor Reed, Fort Worth zone. Trevor Reed. You remember Trevor Reed? You know about this dude? I don't know. I'm starting to kind of think he's badass. Starting to kind of like old Trevor Reed. Trevor Reed was our soldier who was stuck in a Russian prison for a long time. And remember, he's the dude, he's from Fort Worth. He's the dude who was in the prison because he got shit hammered. Like in Moscow one night. He was hanging with some chick. He was in the military. He's hanging with some, I don't know what he was doing in Moscow. I don't know, whatever. Apparently you can go there. But he was hanging with some chick and he liked her. And so he went to spend some time with her or something. And he got shit hammered and then got into a fight with a Moscow cop. Right? Bad, not good. He's an American military guy. He's like, yeah, I'll fight you, Ivan. You know, one of those kind of things. So he ends up going to jail. So he's in a Russian prison. He was in Russian prison for a while. Oh, we got some publicity. Didn't get the publicity Brittany Griner did. Had a bunch of medical issues. You know, not auto warm beer level stuff, but yeah, he had some problems. And we got him back. We were all very excited when Trevor Reed came back. Trevor Reed came back, recuperated it in Fort Worth with his family and, everything. And then we lost track. We stopped paying attention to him because that's what we do. And why would we? Why would we keep paying attention? Let's leave him alone. Guess what he did? He got better and then immediately went and joined the war in Ukraine. He was one of those, he's one of these mercenaries, I guess. And he went and he joined to fight against the Russians in Ukraine. He's over there. They're showing pictures of him. He's over there. He's got his it's pretty problematic because he's wearing a, military outfit over there with his gun and all that stuff. He's got a big giant American flag on his. That's problematic because there is in no official capacity whatsoever does the United States have boots on the ground. He's over there fighting independently. But of course he's fighting independently because he was in a Russian prison. He hates Putin. He hates Russia. He hates that. He hates that whole system. He went through it firsthand. So he's over there. He got shot. Yeah, he did. He got jacked up. So he is recovering. Trevor Reed is recovering in a hospital in Germany. Let's see if we can get to what his exact issues are. For years, man, it was, are we ever going to get Trevor Reed back? And then we get him back, and then he goes and joins the war, and now he's over in a hospital in Germany. Trevor Reed is expected to make a full recovery after being wounded in Ukraine. Here's what it says. Former U.S. Marine Trevor Reed is expected to make a full recovery after being wounded in battle approximately 2 weeks ago, serving alongside Ukrainian forces fighting Russia, a source close to Reed has said. Reed is currently receiving medical care in Germany after being evacuated there by Medicare hubs, a German NGO, and Free to Ukraine. I don't know what. Reed first traveled to the Ukraine on November 1st. To fight the invading Russian forces, doing so strictly as a volunteer with no affiliation with the U.S. government. Wink, wink. Just saying. That's what we do. You know what I mean? We got nothing to do with them. Bay of Pigs. Bay of Pigs. You had no idea, did you? No idea. Reed, who spent nearly 3 years wrongfully detained in Russia. And not wrongfully. I mean, was he wrongfully? By our standards, wrongfully. But by their standards, he was there. He punched a Moscow cop. I mean, he did do that. I mean, well, maybe he didn't. I don't know. The stories that I understand that he did, but whatever. That's the Russians saying it. Who knows what went down? Let's go back to wrongfully because we're pro-America. After Reed's unit successfully pushed back against Russian forces and recaptured about 2 kilometers of land. This is one of the pop-ups. Sorry. The source said, Reed was wounded along with others in his unit, as opposed to what U.S. government sources told another media outlet. Reed did not step on a landmine. He was injured by shrapnel, which he got in both legs. All right, so there you have it. Trevor Reed. That's why Trevor Reed's got his stuff going on. Okay, so here's another weird one. I saw this story. It popped up last night. And I'm like, wait, what? Why is this? How is this a damn thing? You guys remember Aaron Hernandez? Wow. How about that name from the past, huh? Remember Aaron Hernandez? He was the tight end. Was he the X or the Y? I don't know. What was Gronk? Anyway, he was Patriots' really good young tight end. Murdered people. right? What was his story? I got to watch the Aaron Hernandez thing again. What was his story? I know he murderer, crazy murderer, crazy guy, totally did it. Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez, I think, died in jail, right? Didn't he die a couple of years later? Anyway, his brother is in the news. DJ Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez's brother arrested after planning school shooting at University of Connecticut and Brown. So Aaron Hernandez's brother, Dennis DJ Hernandez, is in custody, and police believe that he was planning multiple school shootings at multiple college campuses. Jesus, they are just doing their best to take the piss out of the Hernandez family name. They are just wrecking it. Dennis DJ Hernandez, former football player and convicted murderer Aaron Hernandez's brother, was called gravely disabled and a danger to society by police and arrested for a fourth time last week after threatening to kill a woman and planning shootings at the University of Connecticut and Brown University. A woman told police that DJ Hernandez had threatened to kill her and had driven to Brown and University of Connecticut, where he was a student and a football player from 2004 to 2008, to, quote, map the schools out because he was planning a school shooting, according to a police report. Hernandez worked at Brown as the quarterback's coach for its football team in the 2011-2012 season. God, imagine that. Jesus. I mean, he was like up in the system at Brown. He was like on the football. He was a football coach. Jeez Louise. Another woman police talked to and identified as an ex-girlfriend confirmed that Hernandez skipped a July 7th court date to go to the two universities, saying that he went into a number of classrooms and buildings at UConn and then told her that he had a bullet for everyone there. After the reports, Hernandez was acting erratically. Police had to use a taser on Hernandez when arresting him on July 19th, as he threatened to kill the police if they approached him. He was arrested on charges of second-degree threatening and second-degree breach of peace and is being held on $250,000 bond. Oh, those Hernandez boys. You know, it's funny. There was a documentary series. I want to say it was like one of these true crime things. It was probably 4 episodes, I don't know, like a Netflix deal or something. And I watched it, but it was a couple of years ago. I don't remember. I feel like I got to rewatch that. I do not remember the details of the Aaron Hernandez story other than he did it. Other than I totally know he did it. I don't remember the nuances. I don't remember the stories and exactly how everything connected, but he did it. And I think he did it multiple times. I think he killed multiple people. Anyway, his brother, DJ Hernandez, Aaron Hernandez's little brother, is trending. Commander Biden. How about this? Commander, what's going on here? Okay, we got some breaking news. Oh, shit. I freaking hate this. All right. Yep. Hold on. Well, kind of feel like this was going to happen. Sinead O'Connor is dead. Breaking right now. Sinead O'Connor dies at the age of 56. Hold on, let me put up the sound here and see.
Strive to provoke thought. Fight the real enemy. When O'Connor ripped up this photo of Pope John Paul II on national television,
yeah, you go, girl.
Backlash reverberated around the globe. Weeks later, a New York crowd booed the singer loudly and
Idiots.
incessantly when she took her turn on stage at a Bob Dylan tribute.
Idiots.
O'Connor repeatedly defended herself, calling herself Catholic and spiritual. And in 1999, she became the first priestess of a dissident Roman Catholic group. When the Catholic priest sex abuse scandal exploded, O'Connor called for the Pope to tell the truth. We have the documents. All right.
So, Sinead O'Connor's dead at 56 years old. Don't know how she died, possibly suicide. I'm a big Sinead O'Connor fan. She is an incredible artist, tremendous artist with a debilitating and terrible mental illness. And she's had it her whole life. It's the reason that, she didn't become Madonna or what, you know what I mean? It's a reason that her career went the way it did. They just mentioned something on CNN that I always thought was noteworthy. We always talk about, you're on the wrong side of history here, or how will the eyes of history view this moment? Sinead O'Connor was controversial, and a lot of you to this day, this is also what I talk about with programming. A lot of you hearing this news, your first instinct was, oh, fuck her. Because you were programmed in 1994 to be anti-Sinead O'Connor. Why were you programmed? Because she did that thing on TV. Maybe you weren't really paying attention where she ripped up the Pope's picture and now everybody's mad at her and everybody's back. Sinead O'Connor was the first person to actually stand up and go, hey, Catholic Church, you're raping children. Hey, Catholic Church, answer for these crimes. Hey, Catholic Church, this has been happening systematically in parishes across the globe for generations. Hey, Catholic Church, do something about it. She was booed. She was banned from Saturday Night Live. The Catholics, all the Catholic, like, how dare she do this? Her career was destroyed. A couple of years later, of course, we know that the Catholic Church scandal suddenly became everything, and nobody bothered to go back and go, hey, Sinead, we're sorry. You know what? We just weren't ready for the truth. Hey, Sinead, we're sorry about what your personal experiences were, because that's what this was about. This was about her being molested by priests and nuns in Catholic school. That's what it was about. Nobody knows about that, though, because after this happened, she went, fuck you people. I'm just going to do my thing. She closed herself off from the world. Stopped touring, stopped being a puppet of the media, as she had described herself earlier. Again, we're talking about Sinead O'Connor dead at the age of 56 years old. We don't know why. I believe suicide, because she has been she's been in that zone before, or it's been hit or miss. A couple of years back, I remember she was in Chicago. A couple of years back, she was in Chicago sitting on a bridge, and she had to be admitted to a rubber room, for lack of a better word, psychiatric care. 5150, is that what they call it? I don't know. I think that's an LA thing. But she was sitting dangling off a bridge in Chicago, and it caused a big stir. It was like, did Sinead O'Connor try to kill herself in Chicago? There was another incident in Paris a number of years ago, back in the late 90s. Her son, who was by all accounts the most important thing in the world to her, killed himself about 9 months ago. Her son committed suicide about 9 months ago. She has apparently been a wreck since then. So when I sit here and I tell you, as somebody who suffers from depression and who has a good handle on it and knows how to work through it and recognizes it in other people and understands what other people who have it are going through, yeah, I'm telling you, she probably killed herself. She, man, what a voice. What an incredible voice. Okay, let's just talk about, you know what? Screw it. We're not going to be able to monetize this show. So if you want to tip the show, help us out. Drop a little something in the Cash App. Here, I'll put that up. Just because now we're gonna listen to some Sinead O'Connor music. Not everything. We're not gonna listen to songs. I'm not doing a radio show here, but I mean, just an example of her abilities. And she wrote some cool stuff too, man. Her biggest hit, ironically, not her coolest stuff. Her biggest hit, or she didn't write. Her biggest hit, Nothing Compares to You. Of course, this is going to be her legacy song, right? This is the one that everybody... Just an amazing performance. This video rocked the world.
It's been 7 hours and 15 days.
She has that incredible Irish lilt in her voice.
Your love away. I go.
Not her song. That's what I'm getting to. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, that's a Prince song. Prince had written this song. Prince knew that this song was going to be an all-time banger. He didn't think that he could do it vocal justice, so he heard Sinead O'Connor and said, you have to do this song.
Out every night and sleep all day.
I mean, voice as an instrument.
Your love
On display with this broad. This is Mandinka is another hit for her. This is kind of a cool song. I personally like The Emperor's New Clothes.
I'm dancing with 7 legs. Want you to pick up my star. See how the black moon fades. Soon I can give you my heart.
This is my favorite Sinead O'Connor song. This is Emperor's New Clothes. Very personal song that she wrote about her situation of being in the looking glass and having everybody tear her apart.
It was years since you held it, baby, while I ranked the bedroom. You said it was dangerous after Sunday, and I knew you loved me. Things I just became famous and that certainly messed me up. But it's gone. How could I possibly know what I want when I was only 21?
How could she know? How could she know what she wanted? Of course she made mistakes. How could I know what I wanted when I was just 21? Sinead O'Connor is dead at the age of 56. Do they even have her updated yet on Wikipedia? They do not. Her Wikipedia, we have beaten Wikipedia, you guys. Wikipedia still says Sinead O'Connor is alive. Hold on, that'll change any second now. Yeah, it still says born December 8th, 1966, Dublin, Ireland. Sinead O'Connor. Nope, does not have her updated yet. Are we seeing it anywhere else? I'm certain that this is probably trending on the trend sites, if you will. Where is the first story? All right, here you go. Sinead O'Connor dead. Sinead O'Connor dead. Irish music legend dies aged 56 after years of mental health battles, and 18 months after her 17-year-old son Shane also passed away. 18 months. Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just like maybe 6-7 months ago, but okay, so almost 2 years ago is when her son killed himself. Irish singer Sinead O'Connor has died at the age of 56. It was reported last night. Sinead O'Connor has died, 56, after years of mental health battles, her devastated family has confirmed. The Irish singer shot to stardom across the world in 1990 by her heart-trending cover of Prince's Nothing Compares to You. It comes a year after the mother of four son Shane, 17, took his own life after escaping a hospital where he was on suicide watch. At the time of her death, the musician who changed her name to Shuhada Sadiqat in 2018, that's like hardcore Irish crazy Catholic. That's like, what are they? Gaelic. Her name was already, Sinead is already a Gaelic first name, but she went Shahada. In 2018, when she converted, oh, no, never mind. That's Islam. My bad. Free balling it here. That was, yeah, I thought so. Okay, so she didn't. I was going to say that's why I thought it was hardcore Gaelic, because I'd never heard it before. She converted to Islam in 2018. In her last tweet, O'Connor posted a photo of her son Shane and said, "Been living as undead night creature since. He was the love of my life, the lamp of my soul." So I think that kind of, if that's, when did she tweet that? Because it says her last tweet, but when was that? Last night, where she's tweeting about her son. Let's see. Look, she's not cool, right? I mean, it's not like, oh, that's a cool chick. No, she's had some problems, man. We're talking about talent here. We're talking about the talent that was there, that was never mined properly. I mean, if she wasn't a nutbag, maybe she wouldn't have the talent. Well, I don't know. I think that the vocal talent is probably independent of her nuttiness. But after signing with Ensign Records, she released her first album, I Do Not Want What I Want It. I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, in 1990. It sold more than 7 million copies. The album also included her breakthrough hit, Nothing Compares to You. We were one of... Recently, Sinead posted a series of Spotify links to relatively sad and heartbreaking songs, including one she dedicated to all mothers of suicided children. In a statement, O'Connor's family said, "It is with great concern that we announce the passing of our beloved Sinead. Her family and friends are devastated and have requested privacy at this very difficult time. Tributes have been pouring in for the adored singer after her death was announced. Her music was loved around the world and her talent was unmatched and beyond compare. Condolences to her family." That's the craziness, man. She really was a talent. Like, see, again, I always say about separate the art from the artist, because we were programmed and I was one of them. I hated her guts. I hated her guts when she was doing that Catholic Church stuff. I thought it was unnecessary. I didn't recognize the actual purpose. I didn't, because it was years later when all of a sudden the Catholic Church started to crumble with all of these things. She started it, man. I mean, if you believe in that, if you believe in the takedown movement, if you believe in the entire, the Catholic Church must make this right. If you believe in that, if you believe that those were atrocities that were systematically and institutionally perpetrated against children of Catholic faith for years and years, if you believe that something needs to be done about that, then you can't stay programmed to hate her. We were all programmed to hate her. And I always bring up one of the coolest things. And again, this is through the view of history, because at the time I thought, man, that's weird. But through the view of history, one of the coolest things that we saw was when Sinead O'Connor, after ripping up the picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live, played a concert at Madison Square Garden. I think it was a Greenpeace concert. I think it was a concert where there were a whole bunch of different people on the bill. And at Madison Square Garden, days after doing the thing, ripping up the paper, and the Catholic Church got involved and the media was like, she's terrible. She got out on stage and started to perform, and the entirety of Madison Square Garden booed her off the stage. And she just stood there. She didn't leave the stage. She just stood there and let them fucking boo her. And you could see the tear coming down her. Oh, it was so powerful. And then out of nowhere, Chris Christopherson, one of the coolest son of a bitches who've ever walked the face of the earth, Chris Christopherson walks up, puts his arm around her in front of everybody, and basically stands there with her. Like, so cool. Nobody in America was willing to take the bullets that were flying at Sinead O'Connor. But Chris Christopherson, in that moment, saw a human being being absolutely pummeled by 20,000 people with booze and hatred and vile. And Chris Christopherson had the humanity in him to go, that ain't right. It doesn't matter what you think of that. This ain't right. And he went out and he stood with her. That's why Chris Christopherson's a cool ass mofo. Goes on to say here, later in her life, she claimed that she started having mental health issues because her mother physically and sexually abused her as a child, as well as physical and sexual abuse at the hands of Catholic school upbringing. She was placed in corrective school starting at age 15. She started to rebel against what was happening to her at school. She was being molested and raped. And so at 15, she was sent to a reform school because apparently she didn't just lay back and take it. Man, geez, it's like, you wonder why she's fucked up. She's beautiful though. Let me tell you, she was beautiful. That's the other cool thing that Sinead O'Connor did. Here, let me show you some pictures here. Oh, you don't think she's beautiful? Oh, she's beautiful. Sinead O'Connor, when she signed with, hold on, let me get this. When she signed her first record deal, she was told about all the things that they were going to do for her. She was told about how, here, let me find a good example of this. It was the era of Madonna and, all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to find a one that really sort of sums it up. Here we go. We'll show this image here. Why not? All right, here we go. All right, so look at this. Okay, so this is her in her prime in 1990. That's a hot chick, guys. I'm sorry. That is a hot girl. That is a beautiful woman. She's got a adorable smile. She's got beautiful eyes. She's got big, giant blue eyes with long, luscious lashes. And when she was signed to Ensign Records, she was told that she was going to be marketed as sort of this sexy sort of seductress. So what did she do? She shaved her head. That's why she shaved her head. That's why the iconic Sinead O'Connor head shave became a thing, because she refused to play the sex pot game. She just wanted to be an artist. Now, had she played the game, maybe she'd have been much bigger. But I got to be honest with her, she's pretty damn iconic on her own, and pretty damn iconic because of that haircut that she decided to. It's a cool chick, man. Look, she's a cool chick. She didn't lead a boring life. Let's get some more of these. Let's see. There she is singing. There she is. Oh, look at that's how you get old. She stayed with the shaved head. There she is. Look at that. That is an adorable little wafy girl. Yeah, we all get older. Yeah. All right. Once again, we're covering the breaking news. Sinead O'Connor is dead, 56 years old. Look, there she is with long hair. That's who the record company was going to try. They were going to try and turn that into the next, I don't know who was big at the time. Tiffany, Debbie Gibson, whatever. They wanted to do that with her. And she was like, nope, I'm going to shave my head and you're not going to be able to sexually exploit me. Yeah. She wasn't gay either. That's weird. Like, everybody thought that she was a lesbian. She wasn't a lesbian. I mean, she might have dabbled because she's, an artist and all that stuff. But no, she was into dudes. Look at that. Look at that. You guys, that's a model. That is a model's face. She is a beautiful, beautiful woman. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman. And that's what we're talking about. Sinead O'Connor is dead today at the age of 56. Again, family not saying why, but I think it's unfortunately pretty clear. All right. So there's not a whole lot on that, as that story is just breaking now. So let's move on. But there you have it. Breaking news here, middle of the show. Sinead O'Connor. Nothing compares. Sucks. All right. Moving on. What were we talking about? We were actually just about to start talking about Commander Biden. Commander, you know who Commander Biden is? Commander Biden's the dog that they got there at the White House. He's like the first dog. He's biting people. He's like biting people left and right. He has bitten 7 Secret Service agents at the Biden's home in Delaware and at the White House. And recently he bit a Secret Service agent to the point where the agent had to go to the hospital and get stitches. Biden's dog Commander is, can I just say, a glorious animal. Have you seen this thing? This is a dog. This is a dog. Don't come to me with some little rodent in your purse and going, this is my dog. Okay. I guess technically that is a dog. But when you're talking to me and you say you want to meet my dog, you got to introduce me to someone like Commander. Commander is a full-blooded, pure, gorgeous, like the most gorgeous second most gorgeous German Shepherd I've ever seen. First one is my grandma's dog, Max. My mom's dog, Max. God, my kid's grandma, my mom. Commander's a big, strapping, badass German Shepherd, and he's just biting people. First of all, they're letting this dog, no offense, but I know a lot of German Shepherds that are super lovely. They're kind and they're gentle and all that. The one I just mentioned, my grandma, Max. Max is awesome, and big and mean, but still cool. To people, not aggressive. This thing's just biting people in the White House. You can't have that. What are we, at a doctor's office in the 1970s where the doctor's dog is walking around? You remember that? I had that. I had a doctor in the 1970s who smoked, and there was a dog there. I'm like, what? I mean, obviously, I just thought it was cool because I was 5, but there wasn't an adult going, there shouldn't be a dog running around here, and you shouldn't be chain smoking cigarettes. 70s. There were no rules. Anyway, they're trying to figure out a way to stop Commander Biden from biting people. So now he's got to have extra training. He's not fully trained to begin with. He's the president's damn dog. You're telling me you're going to send me a dog? If I'm the president of the United States, I'm going to get a new dog, and it's going to be this purebred thing. I'm thinking by the time it gets to me, it's going to be completely operational. Total, no tune-ups needed. There is a poll that is out concerning national pride, and this is interesting because the numbers of people who describe themselves as being extremely proud of the United States is at an all-time low. And I, for one, think that is good. That is called progress. Because if you are, and look, fuck you, I'm an American. We're number one, we're number one. Red, white, and blue. I tear up at the national anthem. I think Thomas Jefferson is more important than Jesus. What? Did he really say that? No. Just saying. Anyway, he's a big one. I am an American. However, if you are of the mind where everything is, we're the greatest, don't ask any questions, we're not going to be the greatest for very long. Do I believe that we're the greatest society on earth? I do. Do I believe we're the greatest society of all time? I don't know. Atlantis sounded pretty cool. But short of that, yeah. I mean, it seems that we are, as far as, modern times go and the cultures, how they dictate, we seem to be fair. We attempt fairness, at least. At least we acknowledge that fairness and everyone having the same. I'm telling you, the idea of America, the great American experiment, is better than any other option that I would probably choose. So I'm glad to be an American, and I love to be an American, and I want this country to thrive and be. I was born during the Cold War in the 1970s. You know what American patriotism was like back then? I remember celebrating our 200th birthday, the bicentennial. If you didn't celebrate, look, don't you come at me and tell me you're an American. If you didn't sit on a red, white, and blue fire hydrant, yeah, every fire hydrant in America was painted red, white, and blue in 1976. You guys remember that? And then like 10, 15 years later, you'd be in a scuzzy neighborhood that never gets any infrastructure help. And you'd still see a red, white, and blue fire hydrant. And you'd be like, oh my God, I bet the pipes in this neighborhood suck. Because they can't even paint over. But that was a thing. So look, 1976, July 4th, that was a big 4th of July. I lived it. I'm an American. So don't tell me. Anyway, my point is this. If you're going around going, I'm extreme, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And you're the reason why this shit might implode. Okay, we got to keep our eye on the ball. We got to stay dialed in. We got to understand who we are. We got to be proud of ourselves, but not extremely proud. Do we have work to do? Yes, of course we have work to do. We got a lot of work to do. I mean, hell, there's an entire political party that thinks we suck, that we're not great anymore. That's their whole slogan, that we're not great anymore. So of course, national pride is down. But fuck you, man. I love this country. I don't want to go anywhere else. You go somewhere else. You go start your own crazy little country. Share of young adults who say they are extremely proud to be American. Okay, so we're looking at these numbers now. American patriotism has faced a steep decline among young adults over the last decade, and now it sits at a record low. Pride in national identity is lowest among those 18 to 34 and illustrates the fracture between young Americans and older generations at a time of deep partisanship in the United States. It doesn't illustrate it. It's the result of it. No, it doesn't. No, the reason that 18 to 34-year-olds are like, yeah, no, I'm not extremely proud of this country is because they've watched the nonsense that we've been doing for specifically the last 6 or 7 years. But before that, for decades. Of course, they're going to lose a little faith in our ability to be great when they look at the way things have been. Now, let's not run like our hair is on fire because of this. They're not saying, just because more of them aren't saying they're extremely proud doesn't mean that a vast majority of 18 to 34 say America suck. No, they're not saying that. They're proud to be Americans. The vast majority of this poll, 67% claim between the ages of 18 and 34 that they are proud to be an American. And that's where you need to be. You need to be proud to be an American, not extremely proud. Settle down, you idiot. Be proud. Be proud of this country and think of ways that we can all work together to make this country even better. That's America. That's what we're supposed to be. Only 18% of those aged 18 to 34. Oh, okay, so here's overall numbers. 39% of United States adults say they are extremely proud to be Americans. 39% of everybody, all adults, all age brackets, everything. 39% of adults over the age of 18, 39% say that they are extremely proud. Are they really thinking about how the word extremely is being used here? I mean, that's the problem. And so 39%. Look, I'm glad it's not 70%, right? I'm glad because that would show that there's some brainwashing and some serious programming damage done. No, I'm extremely proud. Really? You don't think we have any problems? You don't think the fact that we can't seem to legislate anymore, anything for that matter, you don't think that's a problem? You don't think that, anyway. So 39% of U.S. adults say they are extremely proud. But in the 18 to 34 bracket, when we break that down to just look at what the 18 to 34-year-olds are saying, only 18% say that they are extremely proud. Now, that same demographic back in 2010, 40%. 40% of people in 2010, 40% of people between the ages of 18 and 34 said they were extremely proud. 40%, 2010. That's down to 18% now. So that's half. That's been halved. And how can you blame them? Because 34, if you're 30, let's say you're at the high end of that, you're 34 years old. That's 13 years ago, right? You were just a kid. So all you've seen as you've been an adult, because you were a kid before, all you've seen is just this nonsense of the last 8 years or 6 years or whatever the hell it is that we're going through. So, of course, your pride, you're not going to be extremely proud of what you've witnessed. And again, that's the age where you first start witnessing shit. You're not paying attention to all the nonsense when you're 15. But once you get into your early 20s, you start to notice, you start to feel like an adult a little bit. You start feeling it's incumbent upon yourself to educate. And then you see all that shit and you're like, yeah, so how can you blame it? Anyway, still overall, we're proud to be Americans. That's not a problem. But, the numbers. 18% of 18 to 34-year-olds, only 18% say that they are extremely proud. What else do we have here? Oh, this is a fun story. This is about a problem. The UFC is having a problem. The UFC's problem is Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a big UFC fan. Dana White, the guy who runs the UFC, is a big Donald Trump fan. Trump was at a big UFC fight. We saw the pictures, shaking hands with everybody, crowd going. There's a number of fighters who are I guess there's a few fighters. The two that I know are interestingly enough, George Masvidal and the idiot that he always fights. Like these two guys, George Masvidal and Cody Conor, whatever, not Conor McGregor, but somebody else. Anyway, these two guys are like huge Trump guys. They're fine. They fight, whatever. I don't think politics necessarily needs to be. I don't think personal party politics need to be a part of sports. Politics in general should have political movements, political statements, using your platform. I'm fine with that. Just don't cram it down my throat. But I just don't think, I don't want to see the quarterback of my team telling me who I should vote for governor of my state, right? That's a little bit weird. But so the problem with the UFC is that there are a whole bunch of people involved in the UFC who don't like the idea that the UFC is starting to become MAGA branded. And there's a lot of people who are upset about it. And one of the people who are upset about it is Joe Rogan, of all people, which, we just did a story the other day about how the Trump people are trying to get on Joe Rogan's show. So I think this is a part of that story. This is called a PR campaign, where you drop stories every day so that at the end of a week, you have a fully fledged look at all. So the first story is, why won't Joe Rogan let Trump on his podcast? And then the next day, the story is Dana White says Trump is welcome at UFC anytime. Then the next day is, what's the problem in the UFC? See, they're creating a story. And I think this could be Trump's people putting this out. I don't know. This could be his PR. Not sure. Anyway, here's the story. The intrigue of this is that not everyone involved in the UFC orbit shares Dana White's enthusiasm for Trump. Case in point, podcaster Joe Rogan, one of the most influential voices among UFC fans and a color commentary for the fights, repeatedly has turned down Trump as a guest on his popular podcast, even as he has hosted other presidential candidates, including RFK Jr. Rogan says, I'm not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form, Rogan said. I've had the opportunity to have him on my show more than once. We've been through this. I've said no every time. I don't want to help him. I'm not interested in helping him. Rogan and Trump did exchange a tight-gripped handshake before a UFC fight last month, however, leading to much speculation on the internet that the two would be joined in a podcast conversation soon. Between the lines, it says here, UFC, whose audience is typically young and overwhelmingly male, is a natural platform for Trump, whose campaign sees young white men as particularly supportive. All right, there you have it. So watch that developing ... Little dissension brewing inside the UFC about whether or not they should keep embracing individual political parties and individual politicians. I don't care. Honestly, I've stopped watching the UFC, not for any political reasons. I've stopped watching the UFC because the sport is no longer fun. Oh, what do you say? Hey, look, everybody who knows me knows that I've been a UFC fan going all the way back to the mid-90s. I mean, I remember the first one in Denver, the Mile High pay-per-view. I was way into it. I loved it. It was crazy. One of my friends from growing up was one of the earliest UFC fighters. He fought on the early cards, so I used to tune in. I was involved. I'd go to his training. You going to fight that guy on TV? Yep. It was very cool. And I loved UFC. Richard Hunter and I launched the first nationally syndicated UFC talk show, or MMA-based talk show. What do we call it? MMA. Oh, Rear Naked Radio. That's what it was. I forgot. Rear Naked Radio. So look, I've always been an MMA. My son is a jiu-jitsu kid. I've done a whole bunch of jiu-jitsu, combat wrestling, and all that kind of stuff. I love it. I'm very interested in it. Here's why I don't find UFC matches compelling anymore. Because everybody knows how to win on points. Everybody goes to the judges now. There used to be competitions between people who had certain skill sets. And when that skill set would be shown to be superior against another one, they could make the other guy look like a bitch. You had tap outs, you had knockouts, you had people quitting. You know, a guy who had never been in a triangle before finds himself in a triangle and he panics. Here's the problem. We're 20 years into this sport. Everybody knows how to defend a triangle. Everybody knows how to defend this. So what happens is, because the ground fighting skills, and I'm very interested in ground fighting. I love ground fighting. I'm not one of these people who, when it goes to the ground, is like, oh, come on, stand them up. I mean, I like to see what they're doing, as long as they're not just laying and praying, right? That's bad when they're tired. But what has happened with UFC fights now is, you still get the occasional crazy cool knockout or really well executed submission. Those are fun. But man, most of the fights go to the cards. Most of the fights are just two guys that survived and it's really lost a lot of its intrigue for me. It is really just now two camps who understand the rules, who understand what the judges are looking for, and who are just trying to survive. Whether it's 3 rounds or if it's, in the championship level, 5 rounds. I'm not big super fights between two people who, I have respect for and regard for their talent. I'll watch those. But the off and on weekly UFC fight between up and comers, no interest at all anymore. If I want to see a bunch of people go to judges' decisions, I'll go hang out at the traffic court. It's not interesting to me anymore. Here's a big story that's going on. This is big. Big. Now, why is this big? Because I'm telling you, if you're like me, you're constantly looking for who's going to get rich? You know what I mean? Like if a dude, all right, let's go back to like 1986. If your neighbor told you in 1986, hey, I'm taking a flyer on this new franchise. I'm going to open up a place called Starbucks. You as the neighbor, you'd probably be like, coffee shops? We all got Mr. Coffees. Ain't nobody going to go to So somebody got in early on Starbucks. Now, I'm not saying that your neighbor is the guy who invented Starbucks. I'm talking about franchises. If you were presented with the opportunity of opening up a coffee shop in 1986, it was called Starbucks, you might not be all that enthusiastic about it. But here we have the luxury of history, and we go, God damn, who'd have saw that taken off? Well, I got something that I'm telling you is going to be a thing. And you people need to start thinking about it. We all do. We all need to start thinking about not necessarily how. We need to start thinking about peripheral businesses. What will be needed when this happens. And here's what's happening. 7 major automakers say that they're joining forces to build a North American electric vehicle charging network that would rival Tesla's and nearly double the number of fast charging plugs in the United States and Canada. General Motors, BMW, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes, and Stellantis, what the hell is Stellantis, said Wednesday that they will share in a multi-billion-dollar investment to build high-power charging stations with 30,000 plugs in urban areas and along high-travel corridors. The dramatic move is intended to speed the adoption of electric vehicles, allaying fears that chargers won't be available for long distances of travel. The companies wouldn't disclose the exact number of charging stations or financial details of the joint venture. Man, gas stations are not going to be a thing. The gas stations will still be around. I bet you in 10 years, there are half the amount of gas stations that we see right now. Think of every corner, every piece of property on a corner in most, high traffic suburban areas is occupied by a gas station. I mean, you've ever done that? You ever pulled up to a corner and you've been like, Speedway, 7-Eleven, Citgo, Shell, every corner is occupied by a gas station. It's not going to be a thing in 10, 15 years. More and more of us are buying electric cars. As soon as the price comes down to the point where the cheapest brand new car on the market is an electric car, everybody's going to have an electric car. Because that's how, most people, I don't think they realize this, but the vast majority of cars that are on the road are cars that are sold by people who just desperately need a car and need the lowest monthly payment possible. So they get a new car. People want a new car. Used cars are trouble. You get your first job, you get a new car, you get a responsible first car that's usually cheap. It's usually an entry-level Ford or an entry-level Chevy or something like that. Maybe a Kia, a Hyundai, an entry-level Hyundai, something like that. As soon as we can start having an electric vehicle in that class of car, because we don't at this point. At this point, electric vehicles are still, what's the cheapest one? $1,000 a year, right? So you get it under 25, you get an electric vehicle around 25, under 25, then you're going to see a need for all of these new gas stations. Think of it like that. These are not the old gas stations that used to occupy every corner in that 4-corner intersection. Half of those are going to be gone. And they'll be replaced by these charging stations. The car manufacturers have signed a deal today. They're going to create a network from coast to coast of these power plants where you will be able to charge up your vehicles. Now, I don't know enough about this. I don't know what quick charge is. What are we talking? Because the experience that we understand is that we pull into a gas station, we open up our gas tank, we swipe our card or whatever, take the hose and we put it in. And then we hold it until we're done. And then we pop. Is that how? That's a whole, gas station, 5 minutes? You need to fill up your tank, 5 minutes maybe total and you're back on the road. How's that work with electric? Does electric, because I know that when I charge my phone, you know what I mean? If I'm trying to drive cross country, you know what I mean? Like if my phone is at 12, it feels like it's going to be like 8 hours until it's back to 100. How long are these charging going to be? And what are people going to need to do while they're charging? Do you see what I'm saying? There are going to be opportunities to create new businesses around all of these charging stations, especially if people can't just charge and go. Are we going to have movie theaters? Huh? We're going to have bars? Nah, probably not because you're on the open road. We're going to have what kind of sleep stations? Huh? Maybe you want to sleep for a little bit. Okay, you charge your car. Maybe we bring in those Japanese drawers. You know what I'm talking about? Huh? What if we built like a little structure at all of let's say it takes a couple hours to charge your car. So we build these little structures and people can have a drawer and they'll pay like in Japan, businessmen, they sleep in drawers. Why not bring those over here, right? A trucker on the road. Because people, you know why? Because Americans were pigs. People will be like pooping in them. It'll be gross. It'll be awful. Got to be a way to sanitize them. All right, I need my smart people in the chat room. We need to start working on some kind of a mock-up. Who's got a garage and kick-ass tools? Because we need to build a sleep chamber that will self-clean, right? Like after they're done and they close it, it needs to go like there needs to be water and stuff. But then that's going to limit the kind of material we're going to be able to use for comfort. And also, I plan to have a television, some sort of viewing screen so that you can either play online while you're in there. It's basically a casket. That's what I'm thinking. So every charging station in America, now there's going to be like a little building. You swipe your card, you open up a drawer, you climb in, the drawer closes, and you can sleep. You can just be in a tube for 3 hours. Do whatever you want. Want to do drugs? Go on. Sure, it's a great place to do drugs. Truckers love meth. Smoke a little. Oh, no, never mind. Don't. Oh, that's where the poop's going to happen. You're going to get a methed up trucker stuck in one of those things, and all hell's going to break loose, and he's going to start pooping everywhere. We have to think about these things. This is why we need to hold these meetings more regularly, where we get together and we troubleshoot what could go wrong. Because let me tell you, this is a brilliant idea. Although here's what's going to happen, because this is my world. We'll get this done. We'll get some crazy billionaire who's like, son, I like the cut of your jib. And they're going to give us money to do this. And we're going to build these things, right, based on the idea that it's going to take like an hour or so for people to get their cars charged up so they can get back on the road. Based on that idea, we're going to build it all out. And then suddenly they're going to go, we've invented something that charges a car in 2 minutes. And, you know, my name will probably be on all the paperwork, so I'll be liable for it all. Anyway, they're coming. They're coming from coast to coast, charging stations. And again, I ask you to think about this. When that happens, when more and more of us start driving electric cars, what's going to happen to all the gas stations? Might be an opportunity to pick up a little property. Well, a little something. Still, corner lots are good. Corner lots. Gas stations aren't in shitty areas. Gas stations are like little businesses that are set up to be easily accessible from people going any number of directions. It's a good location. I'm just saying. I don't know what you put there. Sleeping stations. That's it. Caskets for people to sleep in. UFO hearings are going on. This is a very big story that nobody is talking about. And quite frankly, I was thinking, I want to do a special video. I want to do a special stream at some point soon on these UFO hearings that are happening in Washington. These are legit hearings. These are legit. David Grush is certainly a guy we've been talking about a lot. Been hearing his name. A former national defense analyst who was assigned to work for a government agency whose task it was to sort of not investigate UFOs, but oversee military interests in UFOs. So that's what David Grush's job was. And he's a very very well-regarded man. I mean, I don't know him. All I know is that, you read enough and people are like, he's very well-regarded. So, okay. So he's coming out and he's been saying some things for a couple of months, and he's sitting in front of Congress and he's talking about how, here, let me just read former intelligence whistleblower David Grush suggested that the U.S. aerospace corporations were siphoning off government funds. So what this is about now is, where is this money going? So there's money missing. And we all just kind of shrug our shoulders because we're Americans and we go, corruption. Where did the money go? I don't know. We'll never find it. This always happens. Don't look over here. There's money missing. And what Grush is saying is the money's not missing. The money's being siphoned into special projects that nobody's talking about. These off-the-book projects. I mean, sure, maybe some people are stealing money, but we're talking about $1 billion. Nobody stole $1 billion. Former intelligence whistleblower David Grush suggested that U.S. aerospace corporations were siphoning off government funds. Referring to Grush's claims that there had been misappropriation of Pentagon funds, Representative Jared Moskowitz asked if that meant there is money in the budget that is set to go to programs, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else. The answer was, yes, I have specific knowledge of that, Grush said. So remember what what the rep asked was, are you saying that there is money in the budget that is supposed to go to one thing, but it's actually being secretly diverted to another thing that we don't know about? He said, yes, absolutely. And that's what this is. The aeronautics, private industry. Private industry is working on this. Private industry is involved in all of this stuff that Grush is saying. Do you think, here's another question that was asked. Do you think U.S. corporations are overcharging for certain tech they're selling to the United States government, and that additional money is going to those programs. So see what we're saying? That's where you get like the $50,000 hammer. Remember those jokes? We were always like, you want to talk about Pentagon waste? This toilet seat costs $100,000. Somebody's paying $100,000 for a toilet. And we all laughed. And we're like, they're so silly. They're so stupid. I would be better at that job than them. Who would pay $100,000? They weren't paying $100,000 for a toilet seat, you moron. They were masking where the money was actually going. The toilet seat was $15. But $99,900 were going to another project. That's what this is about. All of this money that we think is just waste. They pay $70 per nail? No, they don't pay $70 per nail. They pay $70 per nail because $69.99 of that nail's cost goes to something else that those companies that are selling you the toilet seats and the nails or the engine rotors or whatever are also working on, that the government wants them to continue working on, but can't actually officially give them money to do it. That's how this shit happens, man. This is how wars are funded. This is how Central American countries are born. This kind of razzle-dazzle three-card Monty with our tax dollars. So that's what this UFO thing is all about. So you're saying there have been billions of dollars put into these programs over the years and nobody has ever asked any questions until now. Former Navy pilot David Flavor also told Congress that his UAP, that's UFO, that's modern language for UFO. They changed it from UFO to UAP because nobody takes UFO seriously. Like if you said, yeah, I work for the UFO group, they'll be like, you're a nutbag. But if you say I work for UAP group, you're like, oh, tell me about that. And then, you get a little bit more. So they've changed it. They refer to it as a UAP, not a unidentified aerial phenomena. Former Navy pilot David Fravor told Congress that his UAP experience had been brief, but life-changing in ways that perhaps only a fighter pilot can truly understand. It was amazing to see, he said. I told my buddy I wanted to fly it. I'm not like a UFO weirdo. That's not me. But I will tell you that what we saw with 4 sets of eyes over a 5-minute period, still, there's nothing that we have that comes close to it, he said. It was just an incredible technology to witness. In 2004, Fravor was part of a squadron that witnessed a UAP drop from 80,000 feet, nearly twice the ceiling of their F-18 fighter jets, down to the surface of the ocean, where another vehicle seemed to be churning up seawater. Then that same original vehicle raced off past their rendezvous point 3 times faster than their jets, he says. Now, this isn't just him saying it. Okay, see, here's the other thing you people need to understand about these. This isn't just him, apparently one of our Navy pilots is nuts. This isn't just him saying it. There are 4 other pilots who were there who back it up. And pilots, they stick together. There's also video. So when he says, this is what I saw, this is what I saw. This is the video that was released that got these guys on 60 Minutes and got these hearings are because of that video. The video is, I was going to say it's indisputable, but that's the whole point of it. Of course, it's disputable. It's disputable as to what they are looking at. But what is indisputable is that they are looking at something. Okay? Stop moving the ball downfield. Stop making the argument about, was it a UFO? No. Will you admit that they saw something? Well, yes, there's something there. Okay. So let's investigate that. No, but you're saying it's little green men from space. Shut your mouth and try to have a sincere conversation about this. I'm not saying it's little green men from space. I'm saying these pilots saw something that was displaying a level of technology that these guys who fly jets at the height of our military technology have never seen before. Okay? Now, comes down to, do you believe these guys? Why wouldn't we? Because they're crazy and they're talking about UFOs. No, they have video. And there's 4 of them. And 2 of them are freaking doctors. I mean, come on, man. These are not the hillbillies in the field going, and they stuck a probe up my butt. This ain't that anymore. okay? These are legitimate people with shit to lose. These are legitimate people who walk around in their everyday life and are respected. These are not weirdos. Goes on more about these hearings. Grush, former intelligence official David Grush, said that he absolutely believes that the United States government is in possession of UAPs. Absolutely, he says, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years, Grush said. He added that he knows the exact locations of where this technology is, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General, some of which to the intelligence committees. Grush is a former National Reconnaissance Officer representative for the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Grush is a former National Reconnaissance Officer representative for the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Task Force in the Pentagon. This is a Pentagon analyst. This is the guy who discovers this shit first, and then his bosses go, shut your mouth about this. It's classified or whatever. Anyway, it's fascinating what's happening. These UFO hearings right now, look, oftentimes we don't recognize history. 100 years from now, this is going to be a big deal that these were happening on this day. And we're all just like, Kevin Spacey got off. That's what we're interested in. This is real stuff that's being talked about seriously for the very first time ever. All right, moving on. Teen drivers is also trending. Teen drivers. This is a story that is near and dear to my heart. My son, who's 14 years old, he's pressuring me now to teach him to drive. So it's all like, hey, let me drive. Can we go find somewhere and drive around? I got him. He used to drive when he was like 6 or 7. He would sit on my lap and he would steer. But that was when we were visiting his grandma. And his grandma lives in a gated community, and it's like wide streets, nobody's driving. And so, it's a gated, you can't get in, you can't get out, most importantly, no cops. So I was able to let this little 7 or 8, 9-year-old sit on my lap and he could steer and he loved it. But now he's 14. He's bigger than me. He's 14 and he wants to start driving. And so he's been pressuring me. He's very excited about getting his driver's license. And I bring this up because he is not normal. This is not a normal thing. And that's what this story is about. The headline: American teens are driving less. When I was his age, 14, I completely relate to what he's going through. When I was 14, I was counting down the days. I was like, when can I drive? Driving represented freedom. Driving represented, being able to go to your friend's house. Driving represented being able to hang out with girls who were not within biking distance. That was a big plus to driving, especially when you're a high school kid. But my kid wants to drive, but that is not the case with other kids. American teens are driving less and less. American teens seem to be waiting longer than ever before to get their driver's licenses. The share of teenagers with driver's licenses in the 16 to 19-year-old age group declined from 64% in 1995. So in 1995, 64% of teenagers between 16 and 19 had driver's licenses. Now, I would have thought more than that, but okay, 64 seems fair. 64% in 95 had driver's licenses. That's under 40% now. That's at 39%. 39% of teenagers between 16 and 19 do not have their driver's license. Let me put that a different way for you. 39% of American 18-year-olds have driver's licenses. 61% don't. 61% of the current crop of 18-year-olds do not even have driver's licenses. That would be unheard of. I bet I would have to say like 80% of 18-year-olds had driver's licenses in 1989. That's crazy to me. Now, you ask, why is that? Well, what is happening here? Well, what's happening is, one, there isn't a need to go as many places anymore. Okay. Kids have their digital connectivity and they have it in their room. They've got all their screens. They've got virtual reality. They can take them anywhere they want to go at any point. They got all of their friends. Every single one of their friends is a click on a mouse away. Hey, what you doing? Right? So it's not like where when I was a kid, it'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go over to see if Bob's home. And you get in the car and you drive over there. I'm just stopping it. We don't have to do that anymore. We're connected more in a different way. There's no reason to get around. The other thing is you don't have to drive for anything. When I was a kid, you wanted to drive because, maybe I wanted to go to the record store and buy the latest whatever. Kids don't do that. Kids don't go to record stores and buy stuff. Maybe they go to the game shop, right? GameStop. Maybe that's it. But probably just order that stuff online, I suppose. I don't know. It's a completely different world. Primarily, the reason is ride sharing, though. This is the one that I understand. I understand why there are some parents who are like, looking at their idiot 16-year-old son and going, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, it'll probably be fine for a couple of years, but at some point between 17 and 20, you're going to cause an accident and it's going to be a really big. So ride shares. Kids don't have to. Parents would, instead of buying their kid a car or getting their kid car insurance or all that, parents have sort of discovered that let Uber take my kid everywhere. Let Uber, you're going to a party. Kid, there's no reason for teenagers to ever drink and drive again. Why? Because most, at least I should say, well-off teenagers, and by that I mean middle class, working class and up. Those kids don't go to parties anymore loaded into cars the way we used to. Now you don't even know when a house in your neighborhood is having a party. You know why? Because it's all ride shares. Because there's no cars. Because everybody's getting dropped off by an Uber. I don't know anybody who goes out for a night of drinking. Like, hey, let's go out and just tie one on this Friday. What do you say? Nobody drives anymore. It's like, yeah, I'll catch an Uber there and back. So that's why there isn't really this pressure to attain the freedom that a car once afforded among kids today, because there's freedom everywhere now. Now kids you can get wherever they want. Anyway, that's the reason for that. My kid, however, wants to drive, which is not good, because that means that my kid's going to be driving and he's going to be driving everybody everywhere. And when the horrible incident occurs, it will be my kid who is driving, which means that he'll be a minor, and which means that so that's my concern at this point. Like, if none of his friends are going to be driving, I would almost rather he not drive too. I do not want him to be the only one driving. I don't want him to be the only one in his pack with a driver's license. Because then they'll just load his car up with like 50 of his buddies, and we all did that. But we also had car accidents, and not all of us made it out of the 90s or the 80s, depending on where you came from. We left some good people behind back there because of drunk driving and because of, idiot hijinks. So maybe, I don't know. The other thing is that he was pushing. He was like, "What kind of car am I going to get?" I'm like, "Well, you're getting this car. You're going to get this car. This is the Malibu. It's in 2 years. In 2 years, I should be able to get ready for a new car. This one has low miles. It's in good shape. You're going to get it." And he's like, "Awesome. At least that's the plan." But then he looks around and he goes, "I could fit some kids in the back seat. I can, don't you want me to just have a 2-seater? Maybe you should get me a 2-seater and not a pickup truck, because I don't want a pickup truck. Pickup trucks he's not allowed to have. I've already had that conversation with him. You ain't getting no pickup truck. Why? Why can't my son have a pickup truck? Because a pickup truck is how they load 50 of their friends in the back and start doing donuts, and 2 of them get killed. That's how. A pickup truck is stupid. Also, and this is what really registered with him, dude, you get a pickup truck. Every time one of your buddy moves in college, you're going to be over there. You're going to be over there with your pickup truck. You're going to have to help every single one of your friends move. You need a Toyota Corolla. You need something that is just going to get you where you need to go. But he was pushing for a 2-seater. I'm like, what, you want a sports car? You ain't getting a sports car. First of all, who do you think your dad is? You ain't getting a sports car. Second of all, you can't be trusted in a sports car. You're not even driving yet. You think you can handle a 2-seater coupe? Also, I don't want you in a 2-seater coupe. I want him in something big. Something around him. Anyway, teens aren't driving. Dave Chappelle has announced his national tour. Dave Chappelle's going out on tour. He's got some dates here that he has announced. Let's see. I didn't see these dates. Is he coming to? Yep, there we go. Anything? Ooh. Love Dave Chappelle. Love him. God, more philosopher really than comedian, but a funny guy. Here we go. I feel bad for some of you who don't allow yourself to enjoy the whimsy of a Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle 2023 toured, and a bunch of you don't because you think he's something that he's not, because you're programmed to hate based on the very slightest bit of evidence. And also, no, never mind. Don't get into it. Dave Chappelle's 2023's tour schedule. Here are the scheduled dates for Chappelle's fall tour. By the way, old canceled Dave Chappelle is playing football stadiums. So, good job trying to cancel someone who as I said, the great philosophers of our time, Dave Chappelle, one of the greats. Dave Chappelle's 2023 tour dates, August 22nd. He's doing 2 dates in New York City. He's going to be at Madison Square Garden. Cleveland, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Oh, he's playing. These are all basketball arenas. Never mind. What do we got? I'm looking for Dallas. I'm looking for Chicago. Chicago United Center, the house that Jordan built. He's closing out the show. That's it. That's the last date. Last date is October 4th in Chicago at the United Center on October the 4th. He's not coming to Texas at all. Dave Chappelle is not coming to Texas on this tour. Well, that only means that he'll do a second tour. He'll take a couple of months off, and then he'll start out the new year, and then he'll go to all of those. Okay, I think that's going to do it. Unless we have some breaking news that we missed. I think the big breaking news of the day is that Sinead O'Connor, at 56 years old, is now dead. Sinead O'Connor, don't know how she died. We don't have information yet on that. But anyone who is familiar with her, anyone who is a fan, I'll call myself a fan. Absolutely. I've got a Spotify playlist that's got a whole bunch of her stuff on it. So, Sinead is trending. Is there anything else trending? Nope. You know what? I haven't seen the chat room. Oh my God. What happened with the chat room? I've been missing you guys. I had you guys minimized. Frank says, why do people trust Uber and Lyft drivers with minors? Because Uber and Lyft are both incredibly big companies that are bonded and well insured, and any kind of issues surrounding the safety of minors or people in general in those cars would probably tank their stock price. So I feel pretty good that Uber is a company that is going to try and take care of my kid. It's like, why do we feel comfortable sending our kids to Cineplex Odeon on a Saturday afternoon? Because I figure they're going to be safe in a movie theater. They're going to be air conditioning. Why, Frank? What is the bigger question is, Frank, are you afraid of Uber or Lyft drivers? And by the way, minors, what do you mean minors? I wouldn't send my 5-year-old alone in an Uber, but would I send my 15-year-old or 14-year-old or 16-year-old? Yes, absolutely. Especially mine. Have you seen mine? My God, my kid. Oh, by the way, a little bit of a brag. Let me do a dad brag. My kid is benching 200 pounds or, I shouldn't have said that. Never mind. My kid is my height now. He is my height. He is, and it's not a good feel for me. At first I was like, oh shit, are you kidding me? Are you taller than me now? He can't wear my shoes anymore. He used to wear my shoes when he was 12. Now his shoe size is like 2 sizes bigger than mine. Freaking weirdo. Anyway, he's gigantic. He's just a giant side of beef. He's 14 years old. He's 6 foot tall. And he's a giant side of beef. He's wide. He's kind of built like SpongeBob SquarePants, except that he's got a big mid. Not fat. He's not fat. You wouldn't go, look at that fat kid. No, you'd say, oh, that's a big one. Get on over here, boy. He's like that. So he had his first experience with high school football here in Texas yesterday. He's in high school now. We're going into high school, and football practice started. Football practice. So it's, it's the first time, like I said to him yesterday when I was taking him, I said, I go, you do realize, I go, you're walking into that school for the first time as a member of that team, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, I guess I am. I go, well, this is officially your first day of high school. I know that we can talk about the first day of classes being but you are walking into that school tonight as a member of that incoming freshman football team. You are a member of that school. Congratulations. So, like I said, dad brag. He was pulled aside. They pulled aside. But he's really good at football. He has played for 2 seasons now on really bad teams that were terrible. But he was like, one of the best kids on the team as far as like offensive linemen go and all that kind of stuff. So he was pulled aside by his coach on his very first practice and told that he is now the center for the team. He is the center, and they were going to build the line off of him. And he felt very proud of that, because with these incoming freshman teams, the coaches don't know what they have, but the coaches do have a little bit of information about the kids from the middle school coaches or the Park District coaches or whatever. So I thought that was very cool. And my son was very proud of that. He was like, yeah, he's like, he had talked to my other coaches, and like, there was no doubt everybody else was going to get a chance to try to play a position. But me, I'm a center. And I go, but you're not a center. You're a tackle. He's been a tackle. He's been a left side tackle for his entire existence playing football. And now they moved him to center. And he's like, no. He said that he had talked to, and he mentioned the name. I won't mention the name, but he mentioned the name of his former coach. And, he's going to be a center. So I'm very proud of him. Look at my kid's going to be a center. All right. Never done it before. Actually, he did do it before. He was a center. He, 3 years ago, he played in a Plano youth league, and that team was really good. And he was really good, and he was the center. But then he moved, instead of staying with the Plano Youth League, when he went to middle school, his middle school had a team, and all of his friends were playing on that. So he just played on the middle school team, and the middle school team kind of sucked. But it was all of his friends, and they had fun and all that stuff. And in that process, he got moved away from center, where he had dominated earlier, and was moved over to left tackle because he's big. I don't know. It's not like they pass. It's not like the same way a left tackle. I don't know, whatever. But he was very proud of the position, left tackle. And they moved him to center. So now he's like, Dad, it looks like I'm a center now. I go, okay. All right, you got to work on your snaps. Proud dad. I'm just proud. What are you going to do? You going to kill me for it? I love my kid. Call me an asshole. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We are out of show for today. I love you all. I thank you so much for joining me every day at noon. Look at us. We went 2 hours and 30 minutes today. Oop, hold on a second. Okay. Nope. That is some nonsense. Sorry. Someone was texting me about something that's. See you tonight at 9:00 for the Radio Misfits show. How did we do with the window open today? Do we like the window open? Is that something? Or is like the glare bad? Chat room, what do you think? Is the window open? Yeah, I don't know. Why is this taking forever? This has been happening a lot lately. Thank you, Leslie. Yes, we have very big expectations for my son. Leslie says Mason is going to do great. That's the plan, baby. Let's see here. Well, for some reason, stupid playlist. There we go. Spotify's working really slow today. Yep. I have got my poetry. As I like to remind you, this show is done for you by me every Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. Tip the show if you can. That's how we survive to do more shows. Radio Misfits is the second one that we do. That comes on Monday through Thursdays at 9 p.m. Central. Myself, James, Parker, and E. Sorry, just did something wrong. Help me to be strong. Help me to be strong. I am like the dancing bear, trained to be the best. Trained to be the best. All right, guys, I gotta go. I love you guys. We'll see you tonight at 9:00 and back here tomorrow at noon for more High Noon Report with me, Pugs Moran, on the Radio Misfits podcast and streaming platform. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. It has been a journey, a multi-answer test. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way. Oh, want to pop back in here for you hardcoresers who didn't bail out already. So earlier today at the start of the show, we had some dude, right? Some like new dude. Like we're always looking to expand the chat room. We had some dude come in, and I don't know, was he Breaking Bad on us? Was he like, did he just come in to be like a fucking 15-year-old in the chat room, right? How did that turn out? I actually lost track of him. Did he get bored and go away? Because we weren't really feeding him. He seemed to apologize, but I jumped down his throat. I was like, oh, what are you being an asshole for? You don't need to be an asshole. This is a very nice little chat room. I like our chat room. I'm actually proud of the fact that it's going on almost 3 years strong now, and we've never had any kind of a issue where we need to throw people out. Even people who disagree to the core of their very fiber hang out in the chat room every day without any kind of awful fights. Spirited debates? Sure. People calling each other names? On occasion, but not so terrible. So that's why I'm interested in what happened with that guy. I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to reread all the chats. I don't want to fight with people. I just don't want to. Yeah, Al's right. We used to have the Russian bot problem. That got fixed. That's probably something Ed did. That's probably one of the millions of things that Ed does that I don't even notice. Ed needs to be thanked every day just for things that you miss thanking him for. All right, bye, everybody.
I have got an old guitar, that is all I need. I don't need no 401, I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.